I think we have one more.
Oh no, not this shit.
I don't think we have a cord long enough where it's gonna stretch, but Will, I don't think your headphones you're able to hear out of them yet.
I'm telling you, we should literally do our own acapella intro.
I'm gonna go grab some more ice.
Yeah, no, we get the whole.
We hit that hard too. We actually hit that pretty hard.
Hey, Danny, can you pull on that mic cord for me a little bit?
For
That
you?
wasn't, but I want you to.
You
feel
have a
good about
dude. Your
yourself.
thing's all tied up over here.
I was trying to figure out why it's so fucking.
Oh, it's right here.
Oh, look at. Wait. Oh, no, not that one. This one.
Oh, that
Someone's
one.
gonna end your work done. Guaranteed. Hit the core button.
Oh no, dude, I don't gamer rage. You're good.
Really, I do.
I think it just is, or I just didn't realize it.
I haven't since.
Yours is in a perfect position though. Like honestly.
And I broke the controller.
Yeah, I've never broken controller from rage.
Well, it was already breaking, like it was dead zones. And what killed me was you ever played FIFA? It's like the
No.
It's like
we
it's
were playing
soccer.
with the same team.
I know what FIFA is.
And
Oh,
his
my bad.
players,
No, you're good. I'm just,
same players. His player was faster than mine. And I was like,
Is
what
it
yeah, better stats or
Aubameyang?
something, or-
No.
Is it a was it
Is
was
it
he
connection?
was he using
It
Borussia
doesn't
Dortmund?
matter for player speed.
Was he using Borussia Dortmund?
Yeah, it's Dortmund.
Still Aubameyang.
What?
Aubameyang is a player on Borussia Dortmund.
No, this was before it.
Oh, there's no way. That guy, he's
No,
the
Abu Bayang or whatever his name. Yeah.
Aubameyang. He's like the fastest soccer player
No, this is
in the
back when they had
game right
Goatsy.
now. Huh?
This was back when they had goatee.
Oh, okay.
Coatsy is crazy.
He's the one
Yo.
that had the memes for a while. Like he scored and like was like, "Hey, I'm playing the World Cup. I can't come over." It's like, "Well, my parents are home."
Oh my god.
Hello. Oh, there we go.
Is all the bars going at the bottom there? The camera part isn't on though.
What camera part's on?
So isn't the one that says off should be on? Remember last time we were recording? Oh, is that you haven't started
No,
recording
see, it
yet?
says ISO recording.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's recording.
but I thought the camera part wasn't last time.
No, it says recording, does it not? ISO recording. It's counting down. The other one's if you're the one on the left is if you're streaming.
Oh, so okay, because I remember last time we realized the video wasn't working, and I thought the one on the left had
No,
the-
it worked last time. The problem was there's a setting in the software.
So it's
that you ha-
recording the video too right now.
There's a setting in the software that's record all cameras. Last time I had it on just recording one.
Oh.
Why the hell is the one added a new device now?
Because it's good.
I feel like your camera should be moved down.
All right, hey, make sure your phones are on fucking dead.
Do not
Turn,
disturb
actually, you should just
everything.
turn them fucking off.
Turn them on
really.
airplane mode.
It is on. Okay.
Because I
I
don't
like
want to hear it.
airplane
I don't
mode.
want to hear it vibrating and shit. Fill her up to halfway or something. So next thing I want to look for, I'm trying to get like a decanter and glasses that we can put the logo on and
Oh,
shit.
that'd be clean, man.
Oh,
that'd
like,
be clean.
like
that'd
clear
be clean.
glasses and then
Yeah.
sick.
All right, so pay attention to like noises and shit that we make.
Right now it's just
Now-
yours.
Do you want?
It's just
a mixer?
yours.
What's just mine?
That heard that?
Yeah,
Well, that's because he was doing it on purpose. Yeah.
yeah.
He's just
but
saying.
When
like,
I'm just
watch-
yeah, just pay attention to it. There's supposed to. It's
You want a
good.
mixer or not?
Sure, why not? Next time I'm gonna actually take my time when I go through and
Move
edit it
that.
and try to take out the background noise and shit.
Because we are not getting copyrighted for nothing.
Just slide it over
It
here.
wasn't
'cause
even
it's
in
out
this
of the
fucking
here. It's
thing.
out of the camera.
I got it.
Okay, cool.
We ain't getting paid. We ain't putting on the show. Aquafina ain't paying us.
Oh, here, so real quick,
Taco Bell's not paying us.
I wanted to show you guys some shit real
Guys, look.
quick. So, just so you guys know, so far that first episode got 76 plays,
Nice.
Oh, nice.
385 impressions though on Spotify.
This should
Oh,
be like
bet.
on the cast. Like you recording.
I'm recording right
Oh,
now.
perfect. I didn't know that.
Anything? No comments. No comments
we
yet.
should go on there and just start just
Uh,
blasting people that aren't even on the show.
But yeah, keep making sure that we share it and shit so that we can.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I got a lot of people already asking me about it.
All right, so this could be kind of a clusterfuck because there's once again more people than Mike, so we really got to try to narrow this down in the future so that doesn't
You
necessarily
move over,
happen.
Lester. Move this way. There you go.
They know why.
Give Evan the big behemoth for an extra room.
Yeah, where do you go to again?
I don't know. He's diabetic. He's probably using the bathroom for the fifth time. I don't know. I'm just saying, diabetic and can't read. Pick a struggle, bro. Pick a struggle.
Dude.
Danny is in
That's
peak
crazy.
form. Let him rock. Let him cook. Let him cook. Peak form already. Let's go.
Jeez.
Ed's not here. We gotta make fun of somebody.
Yeah, true. I mean, we can still make fun of Ed.
We
It's
make
not
fun of
You
each
can
other.
always make
It's
fun
not
of Ed.
as fun, yeah.
It is as fun.
What's
It's
not
way
Ed's
more
Because he
fault?
gets
when
to
they're
hear it.
Honestly though,
Nah.
Ed makes it so easy to make fun of him, though.
Yeah.
like life's hard. He just makes it harder. I don't know why he does that.
Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, that's where that noise
Welcome.
is coming from. I have to find
That's
something.
odd.
seat.
That flipped out real hard.
Glad
That
you
was
can
like,
make.
like when you take a belt off one handed and you know, it's
Hey, yo.
And we look all professional with their iBooks and whatnot.
Well, they do.
I'm gonna hear it.
I'm
gonna come here
poor.
talking.
I can't afford MacBooks.
We should come here
I
with
don't have a
notepad,
MacBook.
like-
This is my Surface
I
tablet.
don't know.
The nerdiest
Poor
thing.
bastard.
This is my Surface tablet.
Our Surface tablet's more money.
Actually.
All right, hold on. All right, we're gonna go through this real quick. Can you guys hear me okay in your mics?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes. You're good.
Awesome. All right, go through.
I don't know. I can hear some.
Well, you guys are sharing a mic.
Oh, mics. Can you hear me?
Mics, I
Can you hear my?
But
bitch
just
ass?
make sure that you guys are doing that when you're talking. Like, don't
Just
because I did hear
talk-
some people
you.
say the last episode, like people were quieter.
Yeah,
You're
some
gonna
people
have
were
to.
real quiet. Like, I
You're
couldn't
gonna
hear
have to
Lester
talk
at all.
about like 4 or 5 inches away.
I'm gonna try to edit it and fix
Okay.
it, but in the,
There's
let's
just enhancers I
Just
can
gonna
send
lay
you.
on it.
Do I? Am I coming through?
I'll send you an enhancer.
Yeah, you're coming through.
Alright.
And I'm assuming y'all can hear me in your mics. Or
We-
mics.
You have a very
Headset.
soft.
Yes.
no, we actually muted the black guy.
That's crazy. They're like, hey, Andrew, you gotta be the one person.
So, Andrew, please explain us the topic and. It's like trying to tell me something, and I just know it.
No, I'm speaking in black. You wouldn't know.
What's up, man? Just out here speaking Ebonics, bro.
It's straight gunshots coming out of his mouth.
You hear like the smoke alarm detector or like the
The one beep every
O2
minute.
detector. Yeah.
We need a dump button. When we don't like somebody's opinion, we just quiet it. It's like Kamala Harris.
Like
yeah,
yeah.
they lost the privilege to talk.
It's talking.
Like around the horn or whatever, and we just mute them for 30 seconds.
All right, we're gonna try this again. This is episode 2. We're gonna start this off of guys' night. We got a few extra people here in the house tonight. We're gonna talk about whatever and however we want. Once again, my name is Will McEwen, and we'll go to the left. Introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Mo. Back on episode 2.
Oh, I guess I'm Anthony. Yeah, I'm here for the first one.
Anthony, I
That
know
was
you're new to
cute.
this.
That was cute.
Just kind of now. Don't make love to the mic, but get a little bit closer to it.
Yeah,
It's not 6th grade dance. It's like 10th. It's like sophomore year now. You're allowed to touch butts.
Honestly, group for Jesus is all I'm trying to say.
Just grab the mic and be like,
Just a little bit closer, just the tip.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Since we do have 2 new guys, this is what we did last time. We introduced ourselves and then we gave a little bit of a background about ourselves, how we met each other and whatnot and what have you. So just kind of roll with it as you start, but make sure you talk with your manly voice,
with my chest
not
out,
where you're
okay.
like, "Hi, I'm Anthony."
They call me Tony.
This time, people are going to be able to see us too, so it's going to be really interesting the opinions they have of each of us based off of the way we react.
Like I'm as white as Andrew's teeth. That's so bad.
This personal.
I'm as
It's-
white as Andrew's teeth.
It's the social awkwardness. He knows it's here, but he's gonna speak this way.
All right, go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, so I'm Anthony, and I've known these guys for what seems like forever, but probably about 2 years. So, I don't know. I mentally blocked out a lot of what I know about all of you. So,
For the best.
Therapy was
but I love all of
solid.
you, and you're great.
Well, I'm Andrew. I've been friends with Mo the longest out of the group. I know him and I actually started. He's the one that taught me into doing line dancing. And then we kind of jumped into that whole thing together. Maybe like a year or 2 into it, we met these group of guys, and we've been pretty tight ever since. So I wasn't here last week because yeah, depression, something. But yeah, who cares? Who cares? Minor details.
Minor details.
Yeah.
You're not getting paid for this anyway.
No.
It's safe to say you should know that Andrew's also my roommate, and he likes to walk around with his shirt off and yell at me, tell me I'm fat to go to the gym.
Whoa, pause.
That's all he does.
Good
That's
for
literally-
you. No,
it's
you know
his
what?
pastime.
Don't be ashamed of that.
That's
I
every time he
approve
does
that
that.
message.
Hold on, no. So now I gotta respond to that because my thing is, it's okay if you're fat. Just just don't complain about it if you're not gonna go to the gym.
Hey, I go to the gym.
Thank you.
No,
100%.
love yourself. All
I
right.
do, I do.
Have you tried not
But
to?
you gotta walk through with the 6-pack and just making everyone fall in love with you, and
Brother,
then,
I got. A
and then
lunch
I'm just
pack.
like questioning my own sexuality. You know, just
Hey, yo,
like, hey,
pause.
that's beautiful.
All right, so let's jump into the podcast. It's about Danny's sexuality.
I've seen him with his shirt off. He doesn't have a six-pack.
I don't.
It's true, actually.
It's
I
a-
lie. I
it's
try to
a
hype him
kink.
up. I
I
try to hype him up.
appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Look at
dog,
you
that's my
clouting
dog.
him up, though.
That's
Clouting him
my
up.
dog.
That's my dog.
That's my dog.
This is Evan Elvey back for episode 2.
That's how you say his name. That's crazy.
Didn't know he had that.
I thought it
didn't
was
even
Elvis
know your
sometimes.
last name.
Evan Elvis.
Well, I'm Lester. I'm back for episode 2 as well.
We can hear you.
You
This
can
time.
actually hear me.
Did you just get a fake Tennessee accent?
I'm like,
My name's-
just like
my
Connor, I
name's
can talk
Lester.
to you guys however I
Nice
want.
to
if I
meet you,
feel like
Luke.
it, all right?
Luke hasn't joined us yet, but you'll know who we're talking about.
Soon to be producer.
Nothing but love for the guy, though. Making it big. Going big time down there in Nashville right now as we speak.
Hey, we love you, brother.
Hey,
He's supposed to be
royalty.
here,
He's
but
a duke. He's
he doesn't pay
royalty.
attention at all to social media or to the 25 group chats that distinctly invite him so that he can be a part of this.
That's right. He has a busy schedule.
Sure.
And I'm Daniel, your favorite interrupter. I'm
Yeah.
back again for episode 2. I guess
Yeah.
everybody's saying that. That's the popular sentence to say after your name, I guess, right now.
What's that you're back for episode,
Episode 2.
Yeah.
Well, I usually start the meeting out with, "Hi, I'm Lester. I'm an alcoholic."
Hi, Lester.
We accept you.
But the bottle doesn't. Put it down.
We're not sponsored yet. However, we are
Official.
on some Crown Royal Blackberry here. So Crown Royal, if you see this and after 2 episodes and 100 views, you decide you want to invest.
Pay me. Pay me. Pay me.
Gladly accepting multiple bottles as no charge.
Give me my money.
And for the kids at home, I have holy water in mine. That's allegedly.
Allegedly holy water.
Allegedly blackberry crown in my cup.
What does make it holy water? Does anybody know?
It's just like you bless it, basically. That's what it
You
goes.
say a
with
prayer and everybody agrees that it's blessed.
literally
Dip your
water
finger,
that's
right?
just been blessed by a rabbi, basically.
You just
So
boiled
does
the
it have-
hell out of it.
It has to be a specific. What if it's a rabbi that's touched kids?
Ugh.
Does it have the same?
That's see that's
Does it
that-
have the same
wait,
effect, or
those
does
are- those are-
everybody just turn like
those are Catholics.
pedophile?
Those are Catholics, all right, which I am not.
They're still Christians at the end of the day.
Th-
No,
not my
Will,
type.
Will,
That's
that
not my
makes it
people.
more
That's not my
authentic.
Christian.
That makes it more authentic.
That's not my Jesus.
more authentic.
That's not my Jesus.
So maybe it's not the pedophiles' fault that they're pedophiles. Unfortunately, at one point in time, they went to church and were blessed by tainted holy water.
It's like a vampire. That's
Sounds
how that
about
works.
white.
You have to be
Sounds about
blessed
white.
With tainted holy
Yeah,
water, and then
right.
you grow up to be a, okay, all right, all right.
They always have something
That's
to
a
work.
theory.
Sounds about white.
All right, so tonight we're gonna tackle a couple of different topics other than Blackberry Crown Royal.
We're tainted.
Once
holy
again,
water.
looking for
Blackberry
sponsorships.
pedophile.
And tainted holy water.
Not the
So
Catholic
tonight
Church.
I wanted to kind of open up. Obviously, we talked a little bit about the Guys Night podcast, and we just BS'd for about an hour and a half last week. And some people actually found it funny and interesting. Some people laughed at us, but whatever. We do what we want.
Laughed with us. Laughed with us.
Not so much with us, but that's okay.
We could have no listeners and still just have a time of our fucking lives with this.
Right, we're gonna talk
Yeah,
about this one way or
absolutely.
another.
So anyhow, I wanted to tackle a couple things. I wanted to hear kind of everybody's kind of opinion on what the role of man is in society today. We talk about Guys Night, and obviously we got a little play on the word as you can see up here. My opinion of what a guy is maybe different from everybody else's here, but I'm interested to hear kind of what you feel is to consider yourself a man, what's important, and what that role entails in society. So yeah, kind of just what you feel are some important traits, and more importantly, what are some things that you think you do really well, and what are some things that you think you should work on?
So first off, I'm perfect. I don't need to fix anything.
Wait, weren't you just dealing with depression last week?
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no,
Fixed.
strike that from the record. But nah, man, I'm probably the worst person to answer this question because I'm real weird. But I mean, I don't know. Like, just I'm a man because I say I am, and like if you have an issue with it, you can talk to me about it. But like, I feel like you got traits all over the place. Like every 30, 40 years or something. Every time there's like a new generation that rolls in, the definition of a man changes, the definition of a guy changes. So back in like the 30s, 40s, there's newspapers out about like men don't like to garden. And then like another 30, 40 years, it was like men don't want to work in the steel mill. And now it's like men wear skinny jeans and eat avocado toast. It's like, dude, who cares, man? Like, just do you. Like, who gives a shit about what everybody else thinks? Do you.
So when you say "do you" though, what do you think that has? How big of an effect do you think that has, especially on like young people, right? Like on where our society goes into the future, right? So like you say, "Do you?" Avocado toast eating, skinny jean guy, might be great on his own doing him, but what about when it comes to like being a productive member of society, or what if it comes to producing a family, hopefully at one point in time, or conducting that normal everyday role?
Yeah, man. I mean, that is a really good question because it's like you can. Oh man, who did it? That's crazy.
Always got to be somebody. Always.
No, but you can always find a way that you fit in society when you're just being yourself. Like, you don't have to have the typical, okay, we're gonna go to high school, after that we're gonna go to college, after that we're gonna get like a white suit job or black suit job or whatever, do the whole pipeline thing that you gotta, everyone says you gotta do. Like, be yourself with intent of being a decent human being. I can't talk. But as long as you're like, you have that intent there, I feel like you're gonna figure it out one way or another, because you can't just be a bum. Like, you can't do yourself and be a bum. Someone's gonna want to pay, even if you're doing just like video games or something. That's like another like up and coming profession that a lot of people are seeing. Like, it is a really like lucrative business. They're still benefiting, they're still like benefiting society. They're providing entertainment, and then there's someone that's gotta be like the IT guys for that. There's gotta be the managers for that. There's a tour bus for the teams. There's the logistics of getting the equipment there, and then by that happening, all these different like companies, the manufacturing companies that make the computers, that make the chips that goes in the computers. Everybody wins as long as you figure something out, like something, not, like, oh, just basically like fuck around and find out, I'm not saying that, but in a way, fuck around and find out,
I'd probably, something to bring up is like, when you're saying what it's like to be a man in society and the whole thing, I feel like it goes by a lot of different things, Like, you come from Ohio or more countryside, you're the bee person that runs a ranch and like take care of cattle and stuff like that. That's a man. But you go from like a more city aspect, a guy that just makes a bunch of money, or you go to like another aspect of the world, you just know how to be really handsy. So like different people have
handsy.
Hey yo,
like a deep
he looks at me funky when he
stuff.
said
I just want to make sure I heard that. I was like, wait,
If you don't know how to like build a freaking garage from scratch, you're not a man type thing. Like, it's like it really depends on where you come from.
Do you think that is more so like that's a stereotype, or is that more so like what's expected?
That's a great question, actually, because I feel like both. Some people expect men to be men, but it's like there's so different ways you can be a man. You can be there emotionally, or you can be there financially. You can be there for your kids, or things like that. And different levels of being a man. Like, you can be a bum, but you're a bum that can fight, so you're a man.
Yeah.
Like, you can also be like super wealthy, but you also don't know how to change your oil. And some people think you're not a man because you don't know how to change your oil. And this is because little things, like, I feel like nowadays, if you can't do one of the 5 things, you're less of a man because of that.
Well, I will say one thing though. Like, I look at my dad. Like, when he was alive, like, I could always count on him if I needed to learn how to do something. Like, he could teach me something, right? Whether it was like, redoing my carpet or shingling a roof. Like, he just had that set of like knowledge that I don't think most people have anymore. Which is funny because we live in a day where knowledge is more accessible to you than it's ever been.
Ever was. YouTube.
Right, like if I wanted to learn how to build a house, I could go on YouTube, and if I watched 20 hours of content, like, I would have a pretty good idea. I'd probably screw some stuff up along the way, but so it's interesting that we talk about like these things that we consider define a man, right? Like, or they used to, right? Like, oh, you could build stuff, or oh, you could work on cars. But now we look at that as like, well, that doesn't have to be the way to define yourself. But at the same point in time, all of us our first thoughts, our first descriptions so far go back to, well, it used to be this is what you think, and now it's kind of like, well, whatever. But we never had the issues in society, I would say, I'm older than most of you guys here, but over the last 7 to 10 years, a lot of the things that we have issues with in society right now, I think, is the lack of what I would consider like the alpha male in society, right? And the people that you do know that are in that situation, often get discarded because they, quote unquote, hurt feelings, right? Like it does happen often. Like people will say like, oh, I just had a conversation the other day with somebody. Well, it was actually with two people. One was actually our friend Ed, and one was somebody else. But I made the
Was it a
suggestion
minor?
that they were both no. I keep myself away from
Is that
Ed's
why you
fucking
didn't name the
promiscuous
girl? She was,
environment.
like, 15
Let it
or
be known on
something.
record that Ed is not here again because it's a school night.
Whenever we have discussions with them, we have to check how far the nearest school is every single time.
No, but in this conversation, I made a comment like what I considered these two individuals spoiled, right? And one of them actually had had reached out and was like upset about the way that I said they were spoiled, and they're like, well, why do you consider us spoiled? I'm like, well, both of you are adults, 25, 30, whatever. You've never had to live on your own, which you never have had to deal with like the stresses of living on your own. Like, oh shoot, I didn't work. I was sick last week. Now money's tight and I don't know how I'm going to pay for that rent next month. I'm going to have to sell something or whatever the case might be. So I don't think that they're spoiled. There's a definition of spoiled to me is kind of like can be up to your own, but like, it's not necessarily like, oh, you're spoiled because your daddy bought you everything. It could just be spoiled because you've never had to really struggle, right?
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So, I made this conversation, and a couple people, got upset about it, and I think that's where we're at in the world today. Like, it eliminates like direct conversation because of the way that we're all afraid to say stuff to hurt each other's feelings, and I think that is one of the, especially with men, because if a guy can't tell another guy something straight and him take it as he wants, I'm not saying you have to take it as an order, then
Or get
that
offended.
automatically like weakens, you as an individual. Like those are the kind of people that I don't necessarily want to be around, because if I can't be myself and say what's on my mind, like I can't have a protected conversation with everybody I know. Like that's just never going to happen. Like if I can't say what I'm thinking when I'm thinking it, like bye.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
Going back to the point of you saying what a man is in society and everything now, I think that the definition of being a man or how they're accepted in society, I think that has not changed. I think it's still looked at as a man as a protector. He's a provider, so things of that nature. I think that is still looked at in the same sense. I think that the way they're perceiving those things depends on the area, like you said, Danny, where you come from or what your background is and stuff. The way that is perceived, I think, is what's changed more so. Other than the fact of, I think that being a man is still the same thing. Like, you should be able to protect your family. You should be able to protect your loved ones, whether that's, your wife, your girlfriend, whomever, your brother, your sister. You should be able to care for them, provide for them, whether that's a house, whether that's food, or anything like that. You should be able to problem solve for them, so like things like you should be able to plumbing, fucking, fixing a toilet, whatever it comes down to. So I think that at the end of the day that the definition of being a man till this day still stands to the same definition that was 30, 40, 50 years ago. But I think that the perception of what it is, I think, has changed more so.
Yeah. Like the definition of man, but in a different font every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time.
We're in sans serif right now.
But also, I want to kind of like jump back to. I don't think that is necessarily I want to say it's necessarily the absence of men leading. That's why you get like the entitlement and all like man, I sprained my ankle or something like that, and I can't go to work. But like once again, I don't have to worry about anything. But it's like it just kind of sucks, But I think that's mainly just it comes with the times changing how they are. Like we're a lot more, even from 7 years ago, we're a lot more like technologically advanced. We have a lot more information. Like you even said earlier, like you got like the whole world in your pocket, And with all that new information, you have new ways of doing things. You have new ways of thinking that are coming up, and it's almost sensory overload in a sense. So we've got all this information. You can hear something from somebody, but you're going to go on your phone 5 minutes later and hear 20, 30, 50 other different, right. And a lot of those people are just influencers. Like, that's all they are. Like, they're just people that are paid to do that. They make a check off it. The influencers aren't even the influencers. They're not even themselves. So you're learning, like, how to be a man from, like, someone like Andrew Tate or something like that.
Oh,
Right.
jeez.
It's like... So it's like you're hearing that from, like, all these people that, like, they have a skewed version of reality, or like they've been rich for so long they don't know what it's like to be a normal person and have to like put together your own shelves or like do your own oil changes because like yo, this shit's expensive.
Right.
Or like once again like, hey, am I gonna eat this week or am I gonna pay my lights? You know,
Yeah.
like they don't know certain stuff like that. So
Yeah, I
they're out
agree.
here giving out all this advice and all they're saying it. Once again, anyone can have a podcast. That's why we're here right now. But it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, look at us.
right? Look
Make
at
us famous,
Look at
people.
us.
Right. The dumbasses that got a podcast. But yeah, it's like you get stuff from people like that, and it just kind of messes everything up. So people think it's supposed to be a lot sweeter than what it is. It's like, oh, if you don't have $1 million by the time you're 18, you're doing something wrong. It's like, yeah, their dad, you know, they had daddy's money, they had mommy's money, they had both parents in the house, so they had that going on for them, you know.
But let me ask you a question regarding that then. Do you think that just because somebody's been more fortunate than another being or another person, that makes it, like, that weighs into it? Like, does that change the perception of them being a man and everything?
In a way, yes and no. It all comes down to how your empathy works. Like if you can't put yourself in somebody else's shoes, you shouldn't be in a position to talk about anything to anybody.
Fair enough.
Because you can only talk about being a rich man in the top 1% of life as
Yeah.
opposed to being like a middle class working American man.
Fair.
You know, like you shouldn't be giving advice on certain things if
Okay.
you can't at least, at the very least, see where that person's coming through.
Yeah.
I saw a video the other day. The dude was saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be getting married unless if you have $500,000 in your bank account." You know, it's like, who the fuck
Are you?
right? Who's over here doing that?
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that though, because that's one of the things that before when I was in the car business, right? Like we started realizing like there's all kinds of analytics that you look into why people aren't buying cars, et cetera, and a lot of them was like, oh, the average male or isn't moving out of their house until they're like 28 years old, whereas in like 1995, 2000, it was like the average male was like 18, 19, 20 moving out of their house, right? So for like when you talk about how that affects like just because you have money or you need a lot of money to have a family, like now nobody's having families at all because of that concern, right? Because there's so much content out there that tells them, oh, you need to have at least X amount of dollars in the bank or X amount of month's salary. The harder part of the fact is there's how many 25, 28-year-olds that have been even at the same job for 3+ years, right? So they don't even get the opportunity to raise that kind of money. That's a huge problem. I think that's a problem with men, society in general, really, is like no consistency. Like everybody wants the quick ticket to the top. Like, yeah, it'd be awesome if our podcast went crazy tomorrow and all of a sudden we were all fucking just people just want to give us a bunch of money, right? Like that's not realistic. But like at the same point in time, like it's a grind to get to the top of any industry, and people just don't want to do that anymore, which is why there's such a struggle. Yeah, work ethic is garbage.
Well,
Nobody wants to work anymore. Like
yes
all
and
these-
no.
all
I
this-
feel like people want to work. They just don't want to work where they're not feeling validated there. They don't feel like their
Something to
shit's
say.
actually doing right. Because I make over like 22 an hour, and I'm still struggling in certain areas. And it's
Yeah,
not
'cause
because
shit's
I'm not saving.
expensive.
Yeah, shit's expensive. So that's a huge.
Could you
that's a
imagine supporting a family on 22 an hour?
That's
now,
what I'm saying.
period?
You
And that's
couldn't do
not
it.
that's not a small amount of money.
once
Right,
again,
exactly.
we're
not a big
sophomores in high school. You're allowed to get a little bit closer to the booty.
Let me help you out. Don't worry.
Anthony's been itching to say something the entire time.
He doesn't. He
Itching.
doesn't want to be near the brown guy. That's what it is. He's. white.
I'm
For anyone not
an
watching
Oreo
the-
cookie right now. I don't know what you're talking
I said one Oreo joke and I'm out. I'm out.
about. That's a second, actually.
Nah, but I like from 95 to now, you got to think like things the amount of how much people make per hour on average and how much everything costs has skyrocketed like exponentially. So like it's not necessarily like people don't want to work necessarily, like, cuz I know a lot of people like my age and younger. I'm 27, but like my age and a lot younger that they're out here grinding. Some people have like 2-3 jobs. I'm probably the only person I know that has, well, no, I got like 3. But like, of more than 1 or 2 jobs, It's just, you can't live off of a lot of stuff that people are paying you because everyone's like, oh, I don't think that this person should make enough. I'm the CEO and I'm making the rules, So like, a lot of that factors into the cost of, how people can afford to even live. So it's not like they want to be in their houses. I feel like half the time until they're 28, there are some losers out there that absolutely do like the free ride, and I'm not going to ignore that. But like, I feel like it's more 50-50 than it is weighing towards the fact of people just being lazy. I feel like a lot of people would love to get out of their parents' house and love to get their own stuff. They just don't necessarily have the means to do it because everything's so damn expensive nowadays.
Well, all right. So here's where I disagree a little bit with this, and here's why. My first car was a 1986 Dodge Charger I brought for my brother. I bought it for $20, a pound of roast beef, and a case of Dr. Pepper because he was 18. He was moving out. I was like 14 and a half.
Back when they used to barter for things.
he was a hunter-gatherer, by the way. What was that old?
So this thing was a piece of junk. I spent like weeks, like all my free time that summer, getting it to up and run. I took it across the farms across the street, and I ripped on it and then I ended up selling it for like $600, which bought me my first Ford Escort.
That's a come up right there.
Yo, huge.
Man was finessing people since the age of
1988
5.
Ford Escort EXP.
Didn't even have an engine.
Dude, let me tell you something. If you haven't seen a Ford Escort EXP, it looked just like a Mustang. Everybody knew the difference. But that being said, like I drove a beater, right? Yeah. And I drove that all the way through 5 years in the military and everything. Like I didn't really care. Now I feel like people would surpass living on their own to drive a newer car.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Like I've never seen so many new cars on the road.
It's like a status symbol nowadays. Like you can't even. Like, kids like at the age of like 20 or something like that, they're like, oh man, I want to get a Tesla. I want to get this already. So they're like, they have these unrealistic standards, and then they can't even get the jobs for it, and they start grinding, or they don't do anything at all, or they start doing stuff that are easy to gain money, and they don't even get there, and then they give up, start living on the free ride, and stay where they're at.
Well, and I think parents make it, especially parents who that didn't necessarily have it that well and are doing well now. They make it easier for the kids, obviously, who doesn't want to do that. Mm-hmm. Like I got a neighbor up the street. When they have parties, the kids, when the parents are either out of town or whatever, like there's like Mercedes, brand new Jeep Rubicons up there. Like I'm like, who are these 16-year-old kids? Like, but it's like, so they make it. But even when you go to a school parking lot anymore, dude, I remember my senior year, I drove an '88 Silverado that I had a plastic bag in the window because it broke and I couldn't afford it, and my dad wasn't gonna buy it for me. Like, and I drove that like that for like 3 months in the wintertime. Like, you don't see that anymore. Like, I think that people just have this idea of what's more important. Like, you say, like, a lot of people live at home because they can't afford an apartment right now, which I agree. A lot of stuff's way more expensive than it was, right? But that's also because they want to eat out every week, and you can't go to McDonald's for less than $12 for a combo, a number one, whatever it is, versus like years ago it was $6. They don't cook at home. They don't struggle. Like, I remember when I was in the Army, like, we didn't get paid a whole lot. Like, ramen noodles, dude. Me and my buddies would pour spaghetti sauce over ramen noodles, just to make it taste a little bit dinner.
I'll still do
Purposely
that.
do a struggle meal to remember where you came from.
But like that $5 pizza from Little Caesars, man. Yo, people shit on me.
Dude.
I got the hot dog
man.
buns, but I look
That's
at
my-
regular bread. Hot dog buns as regular bread, bro. The struggle meals. You gotta remember them.
Midwest, you put
That's my
ranch on
dirty bowl.
everything.
But like, people don't want to make those sacrifices. They still have an iPhone 15 or 16, and
And then with a new one every single freaking year for no reason.
right, and so which
Priorities are just so different.
I think it is. I think a lot of it is priorities
Yeah.
because you say you're working 3 jobs, and I mean, $22 an hour sounds really great. Like when I was out of high school, like $40,000 a year was like the goal. Like if you're making 40 grand, you're going to do well, which isn't the case anymore.
Now you can't even live off of that now.
But part of that is because we also vote people in that have policies that we make more important than our own selves. And
Joe Biden.
we also try we fall in the nature of like everybody's willing to take the easiest route right now. Like nobody thought it was a bad thing when we were getting trillions of dollars given out to us so that we could get a $700 stimulus check.
Oh my gosh.
But you know what I mean?
Trump.
Yeah, everybody thought it was awesome. But now we have to pay for that $700 check 10 times over a year,
And I
because
told
everything's
people
more
that,
expensive.
too. I said they'll get their money back.
Oh,
one way or another.
absolutely.
With interest,
It's
bro.
not free. It's never free.
I mean, a lot of that's because of tariffs and shit, and that's a whole nother conversation.
And even like
Yeah.
if you think about like looking
Yeah,
back on the
'cause-
whole status symbol of like wanting a nicer car before even getting a house, like that actually can even taint the idea of being a man because like you have these people wanting to live lavishly and stuff like that, so they don't want to work as hard for things. They want the easy way out, so they just lose that skill, that wanting to build skills on doing things and like grinding for things. Instead, they try to find the easier way for more higher end stuff.
Yeah. Well, part of that, like I was saying before, like everyone's looking at influencers and seeing what people are doing online and on the internet, and they want that. So a lot of it is sensory overload once again. So people would rather look like they have money than actually have money.
Well, yeah, we've been honestly probably us and ones coming up have been one of the most directionless generations there have been, because as you say, with all the information now, you can look up something online that will, no matter what it is, that will base off what you believe. Like you could look up, how does coffee help my eyesight? And you'll find 5, whether they're accurate or not, articles that tell you, yeah, coffee helps boost your eyesight, or how does coffee make you blind? And you find 5 that way as well. Information. I have no idea. I don't drink coffee.
I thought you were like spitting facts. It's like
but my point is, like, how I know my generation was told, go to college. That'll take care of everything you want. And then I know so many people that went for history or art degrees that don't have jobs or don't work in it. I went into engineering, and luckily that's just been timeless for most things. But so many things that people have gone in directionless, and like even the previous generation has not been able to adapt as to what we have currently. And so we can't direct ourselves. We can't direct each other. And as you said, it's hard to have a conversation with somebody too, so you can't empirically truth check somebody's like, say, hey, yo, maybe you shouldn't do that because you're going to work at McDonald's in 12 years. Like, what are you doing?
The priorities are the wrong place.
Probably shouldn't be a SoundCloud rapper, yeah.
Yeah, put that away. Jeez.
Well, but the other thing too is, it's funny, we talked about like influencers and stuff like that, and of course everybody wants to be a TikTok person or a YouTube whatever.
It's easy money.
But I tell you what, like, I like Call of Duty. There's a couple of guys that I follow on like YouTube or whatever. Dude, those dudes stream for like 7 hours a day, 8 hours a day.
And that's
And
not
that-
easy.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
And
dude.
that doesn't even
streamers are
take like
crazy.
all the stuff that they're doing in between, right? To like set it up and so like, well, yeah, it seems easy, right? To like, that's what you do for a living. You play video games for 8 to 10 hours a day. Like, dude, it's still 8 to 10 hours a day of doing something. I really feel like a lot of guys today, they don't want to do anything that's hard. I mean, you look at the workforce in general, right? Like how many people you know that work at a factory, how many people you know that, work in construction, are plumbers, are mechanics. Like that day and age is dying. Like,
working
and it's
trade is just almost dead.
I'll give you a perfect
It's like
example.
6
My
months.
buddy, when I first started selling cars in like 2005, 2006, like one of my best friends to this day was a mechanic. And at that point in time, he was like fresh out of the JVS, making like $12 an hour as a mechanic. But this dude was the first one that showed up and the last one to leave, outturned hours, like, and made $70,000, $80,000 back in 2005 as a 20-year-old, mechanic.
That's really good.
And unfortunately, we'll talk about some things later regarding, income in today's world, but like it took him leaving that job after 5 or 6 years to actually get his real value on the market. And then another 3 to 4 years at that job before he realized that it was better for him to do it on his own. He's been successful a long time doing that. Whereas today, I have dealerships, they'd pay, $20,000 sign-on bonuses, $50, $60 an hour for his skills because they can't find that anymore. Guys with no experience at all turning wrenches fresh out of high school, they'll start them out at $18 an hour to change oil. And what does that do for everybody else? Well, because there's such a lack of persons in that trade, now instead of you paying $40 for an oil change, your oil change $80 because my technician costs more, right? And then we look at things like other policies and stuff like that drive up the cost of oil. And now so when we sit there and we say like, you made a comment earlier, like, CEOs, they pay you what they want to pay you. Well, we don't realize that when it goes to entailing whatever business you run, whether it's Amazon, right? Like, oh yeah, he's making billions of dollars, but if you look at his net expenses, I guarantee you they've quadrupled over the last 5 years. You could get a package delivered. I could order it right now and have it by 4 a.m. Like, think about it, like he brought something to the table worthy of that, that profit that his company's making. But I think that men in today's society, they don't want to do that hard work. Like, how many guys do you know that are plumbers?
That's true.
I know a few actually.
A few?
See, once again, I'm the worst person talking about this.
No, it's
'cause
fantastic.
I know a lot of
So,
people, like,
I have
and a
a-
lot of young people too that I interact with, like at my gym and stuff like that. That they're getting into trades and stuff like that. But that's pretty much my environment. Like everyone that I know, for the most part, is handy in some sort of way, or like they're in some sort of trade, like an electrician or a plumber or HVAC or something like
So
that.
just to get on the topic on something, because I don't want to stray too far, because we can talk about the whole financing things another time. But here's a good question to bring up with things nowadays kind of changing the idea of how men grow and how we are as a society. A really good question to bring up, like, do you think the image that women have on men change how we have to grow up as men in today's society? What they have an image on us can impact our growth also at the same
I
time.
think that women realized that there's a lack of men out there and started to become more masculine in order to overcome it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
Because here, hold on, I'm gonna
yeah.
say something.
No, absolutely.
A
No, I do
woman
agree with part of
doesn't
it.
worry about being CEO unless that's what she really, really wants. Unless she has to make more money because her husband's sitting on the couch doing nothing.
Yeah, but then that can be said on the fact of how it can impact us, because then you have these women that want to empower and show up that they can be just as good as guys, and then it starts making us on a lower step stool. Then it's like this weird back and forth of, oh, there's not enough men in the world, girls need to step up, and then we try to overcome them, and then we're just like, oh, now you're trying to step on us, trying to step up.
Well, hold on. So I'm firmly okay with a woman climbing
Oh
up
yeah,
as
me
far
too.
as she
But
wants
I'm just
the
saying,
ladder.
it's
Like,
one of those things where
more power to her. Like
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't think there's anything in today's world that prevents men and women from being equal.
But they
Right.
have to do the job correctly. Like,
What was that, Lester?
Continue, please.
what I'm saying is, like, all these women are rushing to get to the top, and we never stop to, like, are they qualified for this? Like, they're just doing it for the status and not the actual position of what
Well,
to
that's the biggest misconception of like what DEI is, though. That's the thing. Like everyone's thinking like, oh, you're just passing up qualified dudes to just get a woman in there. But like a lot of that was put in place because women were being discriminated against and not being. So you're passing over qualified women to put in your buddy Terrence that you've known since 5th grade that he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about,
He's still a
but
good
you can
guy.
hire him anyway.
What'd you say?
But I mean, but realistically, that's an assumption.
Yeah.
We're assuming businesses were we're passing up women, right? Like we created all these roles, and obviously we created, DEI's been around a long time in the sense of affirmative action prior to that.
Yeah, because
right?
I mean, think of like the electoral college. Why certain states have certain amount of votes? Like, that's all DEI. Like,
Right. Yeah.
all of it's the
Absolutely.
same.
Well, to a degree. I mean, electoral college is more based off population, which I mean, everybody's free to move wherever they want.
Right, but that's why certain states with lower population still have a voice, though.
Well, you
'Cause
have to
it's
give them. You have to
representation.
give them a minimum
Right.
requirement. So if you want to say it's DEI in the sense of like, oh, Montana's got less people than New York, but they have to have at least 2 people otherwise. But that's also more to be fair in the sense that half the state might be different than the other half of the state, right? Like, so if you only give them one representative and the majority of the people, and let's just say in this case of a 2-party system is Republican, then all those Democrats that are in that state have 0 voice. Whereas now you have the opportunity to at least split that by at least 2, right? But when it comes to women versus men and that role in society, and I want to get into obviously the feminist movement, that's what we're going to talk about next. But I would say that most of the women that are stepping up in today's world are doing it either because they want to or because they're trying to fill a role that they want to fill, in the sense of the husband's not doing the job, or they don't have a husband because the men on the freaking market are below what they consider their standards, and they're like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it myself, which all the more power to them. I don't believe that they didn't have a fair shot before. I think that up until
I would disagree with that.
well, hold on.
I'll
So
just- yeah, no, keep going.
you can disagree on this moment, but here I would say that the majority of women that I know growing up,
Yeah.
like their idea was, you always heard it was like the white picket fence, 2 kids, da 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 da, right? So if you grew up wanting that, you weren't doing the hard work, which was the 15 years in a factory to make your way up into a management and then eventually, become a CEO by running a business. So it doesn't mean that like all of a sudden as that starts to change, women are like, I want to be the CEO, and we should make more CEOs women because of that. They still have to outperform a sex that's had more experience, right? Let's face it, like the other thing is you can't like make it blanket like, oh, 20% of the CEOs across the world should be women. Really? Because there's only like, 32% of the workforce in factories is women. So why are we going to give them a quarter of the management jobs? They might not have earned it. They might be doing it on a part-time basis. Frankly, they might only have just started recently, right? So I think that all takes into effect in saying like whether or not it's equal or unequal as far as how they've made it into the workplace.
Well, you
Yeah,
speak
well-
of.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
You speak of factory work. I don't know who's done factory work. I've done factory work before I got my engineering job. So
Also,
and a lot, and I've had a buddies that been garbage men and things of that nature, and it is astounding the amount of men that do these jobs that work hard, and there's mandatory 10-hour days, 6 days a week in a hot factory next to an oven. I mean, first time they did it, I've seen 3 people pass out from heat exhaustion. But it's starkly, profoundly done by men. And it's not because they hold women out. It's just who does the job, who does it to the best. So why is it?
Well, and who wants to do the job?
Yeah.
You need a
what it
paying
comes down
job. and
I,
they pay well
what
because
woman
of it.
wants to stand there and lift 30 pounds of sheet metal all day?
I don't want to, but I want to get paid.
You're also not a woman.
You might be a woman. You might be a woman.
Anthony does have freshly manicured fingertips.
And a perm.
Did you see how he just looked at those?
that
Did
was
everybody
crazy.
just notice he went like this?
Hey,
I just want to
what's
say
up?
that.
Thanks, I appreciate
No,
you.
This is Anthony's coming
But my
out
point
episode.
being is, and as you said, due to that, because I mean, when I first started off doing it, it was $12 an hour, but then they started hiring it at $18, $19, $20 an hour, which were unskilled labor jobs in factories. And I mean, sure, it's great that we want women to be represented in all these things, but as you said, based off of merit, should be the qualifying feature. Why does merit not matter for factory jobs? Why do they don't? It's hard. Nobody wants to do those jobs. They suck.
Going back to the points you guys made, you know, like especially you, Danny, when you said, you know, women's perception molding, you know, how guys react and whatever, or their effect on society and whatnot. In the last, I don't know, decade, millennia, whatever you want to call it, when was it ever acceptable for a man to be a stay-at-home dad?
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
but I mean, at the same time, I've said it multiple times because, you know, like you said, we're gonna go into the whole feminism movement and everything. That I've said it multiple times, and I mean, I'll own it as like, I'll gladly be a stay-at-home dad. I'll fucking, dude,
Honestly,
I'll
if she can
Sign
make
me
if
up,
she can
bro.
make like
Right.
200K a year, you know, I'm good
I'll
to staying
fucking
home,
do it
bro.
by all means.
I
Like,
had that opportunity and I just passed it up. But I was 28 years old.
You still got
at
a
the
number?
time.
but
Yeah.
you know,
I
what?
still have a number.
She's
but,
saying-
but the thing is,
I
though,
was
like,
28 at the time. I was 28 and stupid.
Should have said yes.
I
yeah.
have
what the
no
hell?
shame
You're still
in
stupid.
wanting to do that. But and you know, whether you want to judge me however the fuck you want, like, you know what, fuck you, whatever. But again, you know, if it's accepted in society nowadays, I have no problem wanting to be a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
Nowadays, with how it fucking is, with, you know, people always complain, oh, your parents are this or your parents are that. I know damn well that I'll raise my fucking kids right.
Yep. And it's like one of those things too, because like men will do that. Like I won't lie to you. If a girl came up to me and said, "Hey, I make $300K a year. Do you want to be a stay-at-home dad?"
I'm putting on an
Sign
apron
me
tonight.
up. I'm
Did
putting
I
a wing.
sign that
I'm going to
paperwork?
Jared, dog.
know
I'm
I
going
got
to
it.
Wait,
Jared.
hold on a
That's
second.
getting married.
Do you make 300K a year?
I make $100K a year.
Okay,
I'm
so
starting
why?
out pretty
So
strong
wait,
here.
why can't she make 100K a year and tell you to sit at home?
Or y'all
Okay,
can just
but
both
then
stack your money.
I
and
mean,
retire
I don't know. I have to go to work. You know,
Seems
if I'm making
sexist.
Everybody said that.
But it's just this case
You
of
just,
like,
you just gave the woman, she wanted it just to be fair, and you just told her, no, you got to fucking 3 times me. You got 3
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing because I can't have a listen. If I was with somebody and I was only making 100K, I could not say you stay at home mom. 100K is not getting both of us.
Dan
But I'm
won't be
just
happy
saying.
if he can find a woman that'll mow his lawn.
That's what I need, bro.
That's the only reason why we made this podcast.
That's all to get
Podcast.
me to my law. But
Alright.
the thing that matters, like, you know, we're in a society where like things are really trying to be equal. Like people really want to be equal, but it just bumps heads nonstop. You know, you have women wanting to rise to the top, but men are just like, well, okay, we're here and we'll give you the chance. But then they're just like, oh, we're gonna keep trying as hard as possible. But then what are we gonna just sit down and just like let women just take all of it? We're
Yes.
trying to.
Well, I mean, you talk about it. I mean, because
Yeah.
historically, women have been pushed into this box for so long, like thousands of years. So obviously, what? Like,
Hold
in
on,
the
hold on.
80s
All right, hold on a
Until we
second.
get-
Before we go into this, and I know you got some great points, I want to kind of go around the table real quick and get everybody a chance to add on this. Let's just go into this next part of this where we're going to say, are men, are all, we're going to start with men versus women, but are all men and women equal in today's world? We'll just start with Mo and go around the table.
I don't think so.
You don't think they're, I'm sorry, does every man and woman have equal opportunity in this world?
Yes.
Equal opportunity, yes.
I'm gonna go last. I'm going to go last.
You'll get longer time. just 'cause
Evan?
you're going
Yes,
I'm,
I think
I'm
they
getting
do.
longer time because what are you
Yeah.
gonna tell me to do? Shut up.
Yes.
They have different- yes, they are.
What?
I
I feel like
believe so.
Andrew's gonna judge me on this, but yes, if you put forth the effort, we have equal opportunity to do whatever we want.
Agreed.
But
I just
should you or should you not is where the question.
I just know Andrew's about to whip out a freaking just pen and paper and just be like, I'm getting every single one of you on this next roast. But I think that they all have the same opportunity. Honestly, the same opportunities we do.
Yeah, and here, real quick, and I know Andrew wants to go last, so I'm going to let him go last. I do believe everybody has equal opportunity, right?
Agreed.
Equal opportunity in the sense of there's nothing stopping them. Now, that doesn't mean your history, where you grew up, doesn't slow down that opportunity.
Yeah.
But you have the same rights as everybody else on this planet, regardless of who you are. And there's a lot of headway that could get in the. There's things like road bumps that can get in the way and stuff like that. But I do think everybody has equal opportunity. So Andrew, I'm interested to
least in
hear why
America.
you disagree.
So I'm gonna say that on paper, yes, women do have the equal opportunity to do things, but that was only so relatively early or recent in history that that's not something that we can just say, well, y'all are good now, you know. So like women's suffrage and like women being able to just own a bank account, you know, like until like the 80s, I'm gonna say. Women couldn't get a bank account by themselves. They had to have a man there. Same with getting a loan. They couldn't get it by themselves. They had to have a man there. So we're taking all these people that just freshly had the shackles taken off of them, essentially. And we're saying, why
is
aren't
it
you a
that fresh,
CEO
though?
yet? No, literally it is. So like your parents. You were raised by them, you know?
I know.
And once again, that's like still a very progressive thing for like if you talk about that versus where we're at like 100 years ago versus where we're at
Go ahead.
1,000 years ago.
No, I was just
So-
saying, if you're talking about opening a bank account in the 80s, my mom worked at a bank in the 80s and 70s. So
Yeah.
I could call her and ask her about that. So I don't know anything
Yeah.
about that.
Well,
Live,
can-
live,
but
wait,
you
hold
can
on.
Google
Live,
it.
live fact check. In the 1960s, women gained the right to open a bank.
Okay.
account.
There we go, 60s.
60s.
So that was still
Shortly
within a lifetime.
after, in '74, is when the Equal Credit Opportunity Act passed, which
That's what that was.
was what he was talking about.
There we go. So once again, it's like you got thousands of years, like you said before. You know, you get people that are like they've been doing this, they have more experience doing. Like, yeah, men have more experience doing that, but that's by design because we wouldn't let women in a certain place, except for like World War and shit like that, where we needed people to backfill those positions, and they got in and they killed it. But you can't expect women to be 100%. They're gonna make mistakes. They're human, you know, but they still have so many disadvantages and so many companies that have been around for so long and people with that perception of them, so they're not necessarily going to be viewed at the same. Like I have coworkers that I work with right now and women that I've seen in the workforce as well that have similar ideas to what I do. When they say it, no one cares. When I say it, people listen. And
But
I've
do you
seen that
think
happen
that's a
time and
personal
time again.
matter? Like that's their own mentality, or do you think that's because of how society was and is moving?
Yeah, it's definitely a societal thing. I mean, like, once again, until we can actually say, like, hey, you know, they're people too. We got to at least hear them out, give them a chance, be open to the idea. Because we can all sit around this table and say, yeah, girl boss this, girl boss that. I would never treat a woman like that. So obviously, you know, what the heck. But you're discounting all these other people's experiences
I
that
mean,
have been
that-
saying this for years.
The
that this
equal
is an issue.
opportunity is there, though. They're expressing their opinion or their ideas, or however you want to put that. They're still expressing it. Whether it's the other party is not taking the time to listen to it or adhere to it or believe in it or whatever, that doesn't make it a fact. Well, I mean, obviously, it does change the fact that, you know, it's hard for them to progress, but the opportunity is still there. They're still expressing whatever it is that they're wanting to express. So you can't say that the opportunity is not there.
Yeah, no, I didn't say the opportunity wasn't there. I'm saying it's there
That's
with
what
exceptions.
but that's what we're asking, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there with exceptions.
Well, it's not. Here's where I disagree. It's not exceptions. Like you say, oh, they haven't had it in the history. By the way,
There you go. Let's go. We're about to get into some deep arguments. This might be a two-hour podcast. Hold up.
Crown Royal is not
I'm not an
sponsoring this
alcoholic.
event. Sure like that.
Well,
If anybody
here's
can't
a
see, they're passing the Crown Royal around right
here's
now.
a question to ask.
Well, hold on.
Well,
I want to
hold on,
add
in
this.
the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me
There
finish this real
goes
quick.
Danny interrupting
So-
again.
So you say like the way that women's suffrage rights and things like that they have right. Let's look back to like a woman originally, right? Like I went out as a caveman. I got the food. I brought it back. Your job was to get impregnated, have babies, cook the dinner. All right, and then I had to build the house out of fucking rock. I had to fucking go out and kill fucking shit with my bare hands because like that's what the fucking role was, right? Like I don't think those women were like, no, please let me
Let me
go
do
out
it."
and fucking kill the bear with my bare hands because I'm
No,
6
honey,
inches
you
shorter
stay
than you,
home.
100 pounds lighter than you, and have like 70% less muscle mass than you do, right?
No, now
so
they choose the bear.
yeah, so
So that's a whole different. That's a whole
Oh
different
no.
so and then let's go into the role, like the role of woman. You know, and obviously I wasn't around in the 20s or 30s, 40s, 50s,
I
or
was.
60s, but I'd like to think that like I don't think women were disappointed the fact that their role was to stay home and raise the family, and I think that kids, you know, turned out better for the behalf of it. Like you look at the way kids are turning out now, it's because nobody's at home, and it's not even because women want equal rights. It's because women just they want more. They want more, so they want to go work more, right? So now they put their kid in a daycare, or they put their kid with a nanny, or whatever the case might be, because they want more money, so they can have more stuff.
And I can
right?
relate
and
to
that's
that.
family in general.
Candy,
And then the other option is like, I mean, I don't care who you are. Society rewards women who are not married, who have kids, to stay by themselves.
Not necessarily. It's
Oh, come
still-
on, with
a
welfare,
single mother-
Medicaid, dude. I've seen people getting $700-800 a month for food. Like they're going to the grocery store and buying crab legs that I can't maybe afford because their house is paid for, because they get grocery cards, etc. And I'm not saying like people don't need help. I'm saying that in the sense of like those women have an advantage. If I was a single father,
You ain't getting nothing.
I'm not getting that. Like I'm gonna, because I have to work or whatever the case might be, and we're gonna go into what advantages women have in society too as we talk. But I think that's just what the role of woman was. It wasn't a bad role. Like whoever thought that it was like a bad thing for a woman to stay at home, a wife to stay at home and raise the family and have dinner on the table while the man went to work. I don't think that was a bad society. In fact, a lot of people would argue it was a happier society over the last 20, 30 years.
Did you see?
And I know that's considered conservative values now, right? But I mean,
Did you see what they did to Harrison Butker? Butker, I think it is.
Yeah,
I'll
kicker.
go- when he expressed it in that same sentence. It was like, "There's nothing wrong with a woman wanting to stay home," and he wasn't saying women should stay home or they have to stay at home. He was expressing how that
It's
and
still
they,
accepted.
yeah, but they went at him. Now it may not have been the majority, but it was the loudest part of people talking on social media that was essentially going at him and calling out for him being cut for his job, for him expressing his opinion as a Christian college.
It was Andrew.
Yeah, it was on me. Yeah, no, fuck that dude.
Oh,
I'll put that on the record. But anyways, no. So.
So I was trying to say, like, back to what you're saying. So yeah, I understand what you're saying when men and women, like, when they want to start working and not stay at home. That's so true. How the kids end up having to go to daycare or have a nanny. And my mom worked nights all the time. I barely saw my mom, right? And my dad, they divorced, so he was never home. So I was raised by my sister more than anything. So I completely understand how that is, because that can really drastically change how a kid grows up. Because I never got to see my mom growing up all through until I was 8th grade. She worked at nights, so she would sleep during the whole entire day, and she would work the entire night. And I'd see her for like a good 30 to an hour. Didn't hurt me as much, I'll be honest with you, because I have a lot of women in my
We'll
family.
give you a hug later. Don't worry.
Thank you. But it's just like even like that is hard, because like live fact check right here, with divorces, women win like 65% of all divorce cases to get the custody of the child, but then now they're working all the time and they can't even like spend the time with their child.
But
You know?
at the end of the day, though, you were still raised by a woman, right?
Correct.
So a woman's role was, caregiver.
Yep.
Things like
Well,
And
she
that
had to be.
nature.
No, she chose to be. She chose
know.
to be.
So
And my mom did a fantastic job.
Well, yeah.
You know?
You
But-
turned
so
out
on
great.
that end, you were not neglected. I
Correct.
Could say.
I wasn't. But some are.
Yeah.
Some don't have that
Not
capability
everybody
to do it.
is as fortunate.
But it can be one of those things where it's like they want to pick up the role, but some of them don't want to carry it out. They want to pick up the role just to have the benefits of it, the extra money, the extra income, the tax breaks at the end of the year for having
Yeah.
kids with them.
Yeah.
You know,
I
things
don't
like
know.
that.
I know a lot of single women, and none of them do that for that
I'm
reason.
just saying
but
they
I,
We're
can't.
not saying they do it. For
They
that
don't say they
reason,
do,
but
but
it
that is
incentivizes.
that's just the thing that
Right.
women
No,
have.
that definitely is
They
incent-
can win
right.
things like that so easily.
Right.
I have a friend that's going through like a divorce, and they're on the custody battle, and the dad is definitely way more qualified to be a single father than she's a single mother, but she's winning. Why
In
is
your
that?
opinion.
Well,
Yes. In
I
my opinion.
agree.
When I look at it from the outside and how they are and what I've talked to both of them, it's like I think that this person should honestly have the custody myself. But how society works,
well, courts are
Or
going to favor the mother more
Why?
time because of that sexist ideology of the women are more like better to raise the kids. Which in that example that you just gave, you gave the opposite. That you said that the father would probably be better.
well, do you know statistically, actually, I mean, at least for one side of it, and it's been going around a lot, and I'm sure you guys have heard of it, that actually single fathers raise their children or have a similar propensity to keep their children out of jail as a double family, while when it's a single mother,
There's so many more
Yes, sir.
advantages. I just went through a couple of things on that. You're right, 100%.
it's one of those. I'm sure there's downfalls to being a single father household.
and then of course there's women have a lot of downfalls and upfalls of or whatever the hell.
Up
I'm trying to
falls?
say.
Up falls.
Yeah, right. Up falls. My bad. Oh my gosh.
Crown Royal once again, everybody.
bad.
Crown Royal.
Danny's dyslexic, actually. So
But,
Not
I mean,
sponsored yet, but we're happy to
like even
drink
with
your
the
whiskey.
even with like the whole like feminist movement and things like that, they have a lot of things going for them. Like I understand what they're fighting for. They're fighting for like sexual harassment. They're talking about pay raise. They're talking about like positions of being workplaces, things like that. But at the end of the day, like I feel like they have the equals for all of that. And yes, there's a couple of things on there that need to watch out. Sexual harassment, of course, one of those biggest things, and like the position of not being able to be in a higher place in a workplace. It's like you look at the two, and it's like, okay, well, one of them you actually have control over it. So it's like you're gonna blame us and like try to go on top of all the men in the world and try to
But
take
men
over.
can be sexually harassed too.
Correct.
you do it to me all the time.
Hey yo.
I mean, look at it this way though. They literally made a whole ass movie. Granted, it was a comedy, but it was a whole ass movie made on it.
Why is that funny?
Horrible
Sexual
bosses.
harassment against men.
Ah.
Yeah, why is that
Yeah.
funny? Sexual harassment against men. That should be something serious.
Yeah. Well, that's something that once again you're not blaming women for that. We can't blame women for shit
Fair.
that we kind of are either putting ourselves through or we can talk about and
Why
handle
not?
ourselves. Because what do they do about it? So to
I
circle
will
back,
say
I
that
don't
that
wanna
does
get too
change the
far away
workforce. I
from
mean,
it.
now every job that you go into, you got about 40 hours of yearly classes you got to take in order to make women feel more comfortable in the workplace. So they have that advantage. However, if I were to go in a women-based company, I don't think they would have a ton of things about like, hey, keep your eyes off the meat locker walking through the office.
Eyes are up here.
I don't think that would be as much of a concern. I don't think the HR department was like, I know you're outnumbered 40-1.
You can take.
If you need to make a complaint, it's okay. It's safe to come to my office. I don't think that'd be the case. So let me ask you this though, real quick, Andrew. Since you're in your opinion, women are not equal. Do you think that?
We'll pause. That was a really interesting way of phrasing that. But
He
pop
said-
off.
Well, do you think that there's advantages women have that men don't have?
Oh.
I mean,
And
speak-
I
Evan, if
feel
you want
like
to
it's-
speak, but of course.
I'd say it depends on the workforce. It also depends like what area you're talking about. Because some like in sales, I work in sales, and when it comes to selling beer, and we send a saleswoman to a certain area, say downtown Cleveland, the bars down there. The bar owners will go crazy, talk to them all the time, make good conversation, and they will sell
I
them more
wonder why
beer.
that is.
Huh?
Pop off, Andrew. Pop
I
off.
wonder why that is.
So what you're saying is you need like 10% of her revenue to make it fair.
I wouldn't say that 10%.
She has an advantage over
She
you.
does have advantages.
Yeah, the
So
owner
it's only
wants to get
fair
with
that
her,
they
yeah.
take all of her revenue and yours, divide it by 2, and split it evenly. That would be equal.
I wouldn't say that, but
Is
I
she
would
on the?
say- I
Are
would
you
say
on the
more
case
like-
with her?
No, you would. No,
So she makes her own commission. Then.
she makes her own commission.
Okay, so let her make her own commission.
I'm saying that's fine, but when it comes to a man going down there by himself and trying to sell in more beer that she sold in, won't be the same. Women always sometimes outsell the men.
Always, sometimes it's
Always,
crazy,
sometimes.
but that's pretty privileged. That's a different conversation.
Again, that's true.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Depending on the product, more
Yes.
times than not, a woman will outsell a man.
Yes, yes.
It
do you
depends on
think,
the
Andrew?
market and who's buying.
I think it's a different world. I think
That's
if you would have said that
different, yeah.
15 years ago, that'd be false. I think now I would say yes, but
Yes.
that's only because the buyer, the consumer in general, is a much more researched person. They just want to go find somebody that they enjoy working with. That's not a buyer.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, she might be more likely to sell that, but you also have with that is this dude going to try to take advantage of me, or is he only doing because he's trying to get with me? So yeah,
Yes,
they're gonna
yes,
they're gonna outwork
yes.
them in that aspect, but that's only because there's more on the side of there's something to look at. And just kind of like a thing, and not like oh man, this person's a really good salesperson.
Yes.
So that's more on that person. That's like but that's a society that we're in where there's a lot of wow, that's crazy. There's a lot of people that are just like oh man, I'm just a horny old dude.
So here's a question for you, Andrew. And it
I
just
didn't even
popped
answer
up.
his first question.
I know, my bad.
Yeah,
so
let
you
him-
guys
let him-
ran
let
it.
him- let him
Wait,
answer
wait,
the
wait,
question.
wait,
So-
go.
hold that. Actually, hold that. And
Yeah.
ask me that again. 'Cause
Yeah.
you put on a hold.
Are there advantages that women have in society over men?
Gotcha. Honestly, I don't think in society, like in terms of like
In
social,
general.
in
In
so-
general.
When
In
it comes to social things, women do set the pace a lot more so than men. But when it comes to technical things in the business world, they're not any more like ahead than men are.
But that's a choice they make.
a choice they make is crazy.
Well, hold on a second. Hold on a second. You say that in the business world they're not ahead, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard a company be required to hire a specific amount of men? Has that ever been a law?
No, because we're always there. There's a lot of
Well,
us.
what if we're not? Because there's
When-
women-based companies
Can
that are
you-
very successful running businesses that are over 60, 70% women. Fantastic businesses.
Mm.
So should we require those businesses to then go out and change their internal demographics to meet requirements of...
If there is a long history of there being a predominantly dominated market of women-based businesses where men have been trying to get in for years and years and years, they've been turned away because they're men, then yes.
Good point.
Then you have to do something about that. If there's nothing different that a man could do that a woman could do in that business, and there's decades of, or not even decades, but hundreds of years of women only being in this and men trying to be in, and they keep trying and they keep failing, and the only time they're let in is if they're moving boxes and they're just spit on and, oh man, let me grab your dick or something, you know, like if there's something
But
weird
that's
like
not
that.
that's not the society we live in. That doesn't happen in the workplace
exactly.
now.
That's why you
When
don't
a woman
have
gets
that
the same
problem.
opportunity today that a man does to be hired.
Kind
Like
of.
I'll be honest, there's positions at dealerships that I would prefer women
Right.
work in, but they wouldn't even apply. Like I would have loved to have a more dynamic sales force or diverse sales force where I had 60%, 50% men, 50% women, whatever case, because it only improves my demographics to who I'm selling to, right? I'd also like to have somebody that speaks Spanish. I'd like to also have like the idea that is stuff that I would want because I want to be more diverse for my client base. It helps me get more sales, helps me make more money. But I'm not gonna say oh, I'm just gonna only hire 4 women because I need 4 women on my staff if they don't even want to be there, or they might not even apply for that position in general. So then my business is looked at as, oh, they're not very diverse because it's all men on the showroom floor when you come in and they're salespeople. In the meantime, I could care less.
Right.
But I'm given that
But-
that status because of the way that the cookie crumbles as far as applications go.
Right, and that's a good thing. Like, that's good that you feel that way. If more people felt the way you do, we would not be having this conversation.
I
right
feel like they do, and that they're just looked at. I think that people look at here's my opinion of the feminist movement and how it works when it comes
I would
to
love to hear that.
equal rights. I think that women who haven't been in the workforce automatically feel that just because they're entering the workforce now that they should automatically be jumped up in salary to meet the 5-year experienced CEO should be the same pay as a 15-year CEO. Just isn't the case. I also feel that not even just women, but this generation in general expects way more for way less than 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
I've been with this company for 6 months, and they haven't given me an opportunity to progress into leadership. You don't even know 10% of what we do here, and you need like 3 more years before you even understand it to move up. Men versus women doesn't matter, so there's going to be a pay gap there based off of experience because, I mean, how many people here have had at least 3 different types of jobs? Right? So you guys being younger than I am, like if you've had 3 different types of jobs, that means you don't have 8 to 10 years of experience really in any scenario where you've literally built yourself and worked your way up into a company where you can see multiple things. So that's a lot of that happened with women, and it's not because, once again, nobody held women back in the 80s. Okay, I shouldn't say nobody. I'm sure there were
I think
certain
Bill
people.
Cosby would disagree with me.
I would say that
Fuck that dude too.
I would say most people. I would say most women at that point in time though just didn't. That's not what they wanted.
Well, okay.
And
so-
now they do, and they're like, oh, I want a jump start. I want a kick in the butt. I need a little boost in order to be fair.
All right. So what I'm gonna say, I need you to not take this the wrong way.
We're not gonna.
Already have.
Don't talk to me. Anyway, so,
You are a privileged white guy who grew up with everything.
no, I'm not gonna say that. What I'm gonna say is, I hope you don't take this the wrong way. I feel like you are projecting your ideology and how you feel onto the rest of the people that are in positions like you, and in order to rationalize why women are saying the things that they're saying and why people have that stance that they're saying, that you're kind of creating an instance in your head of they just don't want to do this because of this, or they just feel some way because of this. But you're kind of in the minority of how business owners and people that hire people act. There's a lot of people, once again, that hire and that own businesses that would not want women there, and they won't want, like, a diverse staff. A lot of people want a business of people that look like them and act like them and think like them.
We're
And
making
you're
assumptions.
not
We're
like
making
that.
assumptions.
Well, that's what
Both
we did
of
before.
us.
Yeah, I mean,
We're,
yeah.
we're both
Well,
making
so-
assumptions.
You go ahead.
But the thing is that hold on. So the thing is that
Actually, I'm backing up part of that. So,
Once again, Crown Royal.
I was actually gonna back you up.
Making conversation interesting since when did this come out, Evan? About 60 days ago?
More than that.
right. But I'm not saying this like you're a bad dude because once again I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. You know it's all love, man. Like I'm not about to.
I
be
hate
safe.
you. Okay.
No, I actually do hate Danny. But, but no, I think that you see you're either seeing yourself in all these other business people or like hiring managers and stuff like that, or there's a part of you that wants to be them in order to like say like, oh, they can't be bad. I'm like that and I see myself as that. There's no way they could think like that. But a lot of them do think like that and they're in these high positions of power and they shit on everybody underneath them. So while you might not do that, you're still in the minority. Like how there's the whole good cop, bad cop thing. Like one cop could be like, oh, I'm not racist. Why would I look at somebody of color different? Another person, they could just be racist, like a racist piece of shit. So I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to lump you in with everybody. I'm just saying that there are these people that have been screaming this for years, like decades. And to just completely discount that off and say, nah, like we were happier back then, or we were this back then, we were that back then. A lot of women were happier back in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, because they had to be. They couldn't even get a divorce without like a certain cause, and that's still once again within the last 100 years or so.
See, but look at why is that always a bad thing though?
No, listen, there's nothing.
Like
wrong
there's a lot of things about, and it's funny because I think that today's day and age when we talk about conservative values, like I think conservative values are literally just values of people that people held for fucking years and years and years until people started questioning because more knowledge became available to everybody.
That's the sexual harassment I've been talking about.
At least you'll see me in my office later. No.
like
Mo
like
and
more
Anthony
became
here.
available to it, but I think that overall,
I'm not getting sexual.
like I agree
over
that
Ask it, you shall
more
receive.
women could be
Hey, y'all,
more
let 'em
women
talk,
could
let
be
'em
given
talk.
opportunity or whatever, but at the same point in time, I think that the more opportunities they get, the more downfall that we see as a society.
Not necessarily. I'm saying that things have changed, so we have to change along with it and make it make sense because those traditional values, there's nothing wrong with that. That's an amazing thing to have. Once again, if a man wants to lead the household and the woman wants to follow the lead, that's amazing. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that with more rights comes not more problems, obviously, because now everybody's got a voice that didn't have a voice. Whereas like, I'm speaking, I'm the man, you shut up and you listen. And if you say anything else, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. If you go to the cops, who cares? I'm the man. They're gonna take my side every time. Try it, you know? Now you can't do that. And that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, but
So-
now it could be vice versa. Now it could be a woman and be like, "Oh,
Right.
that guy is sexually harassing me," and they're like,
Right.
"Oh, really?" And they're gonna run that guy through the vein. Although he might have just been like, "Hey, you have a nice outfit on today. I appreciate you looking professional in the
Right.
office." And she could go to somebody and be like, "Me too." Hashtag me too. Fucking. And so I would say that's an advantage. Like if you went to the HR person, you're like, "Hey, she made a joke around me, and I don't think it was appropriate. Do you think you're gonna get as much attention as if she was like,
Yeah.
he said, bitch, and I was I was within 40 feet of him.
Right.
Like, no,
But-
you're
but
gonna
my-
be the one that fucking.
And I agree. I absolutely agree.
You said that, though.
Because, like I said, all that stuff, all those traditional values, those are not a bad thing. But I think that when you refuse to have the conversations that need to be had, not like, oh man, women doing better, are just like down, like there's a downfall of society. Like, no, a lot of men, once again, we've been raised a certain way, just like how women have been raised a certain way. We are shit at talking about our feelings and communicating a lot of stuff out. So there are absolutely women that are more than happy to get in that role, but it's just now, how do you find that person? Because not everybody wants that, and that's fine. But the only reason why the woman nowadays gives you that, or why you have that control over women nowadays in that traditional type of relationship, which those do exist, is not because like how in the past, where like that's just what she has to do, and if she's weird if not, and she's gonna get beat if not. Now it's she gives you that control, and that's why you have that control. So now, like you said earlier, women want more. Like, yeah, and as they should, because now they're being seen for the first time in history that they're human beings along with us. So Now you have to somehow convince this person with full autonomy over themselves, except for certain areas, which that's a whole nother conversation. Why you should pick me and why you should let me take the control and why you should let me take the lead. And she's more than within her right to take that away at any time. But you shouldn't be forcing her into that role.
Okay. So, I mean, we touched on this a little bit last podcast, you know. I think, like, with this topic a little bit, I think we're more so diving into the ethical and moral part of things, too. But aside from that, just looking at strictly directly to the where men and women have the equal opportunity, you know, to make something of themselves. Aside from viewership, when it comes down to being a professional athlete, you know, men get paid significantly higher than women do. In particular, that I'm referencing to is women's basketball, since it's been a big thing as
the highest
Because there's no women's NFL.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying like, but I mean, you know,
I would
but
watch.
at the same,
That's
but
fine. They can
at the
join.
same time, like, you know, but there's still other professional sports that women have, you know, like such as
UFC,
softball,
tennis.
you have UFC, tennis, you know,
Golf.
so golf, all sorts of those things. But why is it that women get paid significantly less then? I mean, aside from viewership, at the end of the day, they're still professional athletes. At the end of the day, they're still putting in the same amount of work that any male professional athlete could be putting in there. At the end of the day, you know, the merch and everything, all that's still there for them. People could have their own signature shoes, clothing brands, all that stuff is aside. But why is it that at the end of the day that women are getting the less cut then?
Well, that one's kind
Yeah,
of simple.
because
Not gonna
it's
lie, yeah,
you're
that
saying
one's
like
pretty simple.
it's besides viewership, it probably is only because of
that is
viewership.
Yeah.
That's probably the only thing that's gapping it.
It's a business.
Yeah,
and then,
I
and like
understand
Well,
that,
hold on. It's not only viewership. I'll give you an example. You pick any two men you want, any two women you want. Same level.
JFK and Hitler.
Based off of the
I hate you so much.
I'll give you an example. Ronda Rousey, right?
Okay.
This,
Really good
versus
CF, right?
pick one.
Pack you.
Manny Pacquiao. Yeah.
No,
well, that's
they're
boxing.
not
That's
even
the
the
same-
same-
no,
Conor McGregor.
Yes,
There you
thank
go.
you.
McGregor.
McGregor. I'm a white guy.
both
so I
very
name
good
I know.
UFC.
gonna say
So
boxer,
both
not do-
both very good, right?
Yeah.
At what they do. Both top of their game. Who would win?
Or is he allowed to swing? Like is it like equal rights? Equal
Yo,
fights?
that's crazy.
So hold on, that's a great example. All right, so I just watched this Netflix special called Outlast, right? What have you anybody here seen it?
Never heard of her.
All right, so you've seen it. 16 people, right? Random 16 people. They have to be on 4 separate teams.
Oh yes, you explained this last time.
You all get sent over these different areas, 4 sections of this Alaska wilderness. The only rule is you have to stay on a team, meaning if 2 of my people leave and it's just me and one other guy, him and I got to stick together, or if he leaves, I got like 24 hours to find another team to be on.
Oh, I heard about that one.
So there's this scenario where these 2 women are on this one team, and this one guy is just him and one other guy, and they're like on the breaking point. And these 2 women, like one's a former addict, an ex just like a fucking former addict, and she goes up and she's about to pop his boat and ruin his boat to go get his shrimp traps, while the other one is up just destroying his camp. So he's sitting in his camp. He's got to go get his boat. He gets there and he walks up to her and he's like, stop. And she's like, get off me. Now, in that scenario, is it appropriate? Now, remember, this is a survival game. Can I knock her out?
I would give her the left right hook on the low, bro.
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I would have punched her in the face. Like I'm sitting in front of my TV, like just Decker, bro. I got your back. I will find you on Twitter. I will hashtag free the
Bro,
mail.
the
Like,
piece of chicken and a biscuit,
hashtag
bro.
equal rights.
Hands are rated E for
But if
everyone.
he would have hit her, what would have happened?
The whole internet
Oh,
would have
you
blown
would've-
up.
there's
That
gonna
made
be
me
people
cancel
split down the middle
so fast.
There's gonna be
Even
people
though-
split down the middle, like, oh yeah, man, screw like the
you get out of
RTA
it.
bus dude in Cleveland when he uppercutted that woman that was attacking while he was driving.
That's good.
You going to jail now? Remember that? Everyone was split down the middle.
So in that scenario, right? Like it's hard to offer equal rights
Yeah.
when I don't get equal opportunity. Like,
Well, that's something
so-
that we can talk about and fix, but it takes men also doing our part of nutting up and being like, yeah, you know what? Maybe we could change certain things around because a lot of us men are gonna be the main ones being like, you shouldn't have hit that girl. What are you, a pussy? You hit a girl. You put your
No,
hand,
dude.
don't you put your hands on a woman? Like a lot of men
If she
are
can
gonna
hit
be
like
the
a man,
main
she can
people
be
saying
hit like
that.
a man.
So all right, so that goes. So
Listen.
Well, when you're one guy in the
Listen.
basement, my
So
guy.
that was just one scenario, but it started with you saying like if
Ronda Rousey,
McGregor
yeah.
is fighting Rousey, like is he allowed to hit her?
Is she? Yeah. Like
Honestly,
equal rights, equal fights.
And this
I
is
mean,
where I'm gonna be real progressive. I think we should have more
Male versus female
mixed
fights?
gender
Oh, never mind.
combat sports. 'Cause
Dude,
what-
Vince
that-
McMahon was a
listen,
no,
genius
I'm
for
in.
that.
I would watch
That-
it.
you are out of
let
your
me explain.
mind.
Let me
Listen,
explain.
You are out
Let
of
me
your
explain.
They
mind.
do have that. In
Kung
there's a
Fu,
foreign country.
Women-
They have this thing, and it's like a UFC
Oh, the
ring.
big fat dude.
And then there was 3 girls against
Oh,
one
I
big
see.
fat
Yeah.
guy.
What is this?
What is slugging the
But
shit
they
out of
don't
him.
Is it on
even know
ESPN
how to
Plus?
fight,
Russia.
though.
ESPN 8, I think it was.
That's crazy.
So,
Well,
so
if
my
we're
hold on. So my thing is, the reason why martial arts was a thing was so that people could compete with animals. That's why you have the different stances. You
I'm
have
like, I
tiger
got
stance.
that dog in me.
Pause. your dog is the Taco Bell mascot.
That's true. No, it's
Brother,
true.
sit down.
That's
Anyway,
true.
so, but like that's why that that is. So weaker opponent, physically weaker opponent can compete with someone bigger and stronger than them. So I think that would be interesting. I feel like everyone that wants to compete with something should be able to do it. And if you get your ass laid out, you get your ass laid out.
Here's a really good question that leads up to this because I really want to get your opinion on this because I've actually just thought of this. So like with that same aspect of like women and male sports, okay?
Yeah.
And it ties in with rights and feminism exactly. Do
I
you
hope it
think?
does.
Do you think in that same aspect of equal rights of feminism and sports, right? Where does the transgender role fits in that?
There is
So-
no transgender.
Now, if I'm a man,
That's a whole different.
that's what I'm saying.
That's
That's a pretty good.
I'm gonna tell you right now that the transgender movement is the biggest problem with this
It's-
male versus
exactly.
female equal rights.
Because you
Because
have
if
this-
there was more women at home and there was more men in the household and there was more
shit wouldn't happen.
regular families.
And that's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
When
That's
my
just
son
longer
came
than
to
you
me
think.
and said, "Hey, Dad, I like playing with dolls and I want to wear a dress," I would be like, "You want to play with dolls? That's fine. Look at them titties on Barbie. You are never wearing a fucking dress
but that's so true, 'cause
ever
you're like-
because you're a dude." I'm sorry. Are they saying at school that hey, it's okay if you want to be a girl or you want to play with toys
Exactly.
or whatever?
That's-
No, fuck them. It's okay. And the other aspect of that aspect, I think that the biggest problem with that is that people just stop telling people it's okay to
So,
be a
yeah.
tomboy
Just tell them
or
no.
it's okay to be a feminine dude.
Yeah.
Like
I do agree with that.
like
but
I think that's
that-
what started this whole
Yeah.
thing, and then second was we made it cool, right? We made it trendy to be, like, hey,
bigger.
And
get
that's
in
why-
here and get on the target.
And that's why this whole thing's like it's actually part of this whole conversation because like you have this whole women movement. Oh, women are great. They deserve to be as strong as men, equal rights. All right, so now you have this man who's now a man. He's a man, born guy, becomes a woman. Is he part of the feminist movement? Because he has all the qualities and the DNA of a man. He can do everything I can do, but calls himself a woman. Now, is the feminist gonna accept him? like that?
So if I started calling you a little bitch, even though your name is Danny, because you're being a little bitch, even
But
though
that's
you feel
name
like
calling.
Danny,
That's
hold
name
on,
calling. That's
a
not-
pronoun.
This
So
Crown
we're calling
Royal, you're doing a great
yeah,
job.
that makes no sense.
you, no, but
Blackberry.
I'm actually
Right,
asking a
I'm
question
dead.
here, though.
So to answer that question, there are trans people that compete already.
I know that.
They have,
And it's
strict
already a
regulations.
it's already a problem.
So no, it's not. It's
started
really
a
not.
whole thing. The,
Can you
the
name,
whole
name
thing
one?
where
Name one.
the guy who what's his name, Caitlyn Jenner or whatever the hell
Oh,
became woman of the
Speaking
year.
of Russia, no, they had one. There was a Russian transgender. There was no hormone therapy done, but they allowed him/her to fight one of their top of the
In the Olympics.
UFC. No, not in boxing. UFC.
She was an actual woman.
Yeah,
People were
yeah,
just
I'm
freaking out
talking
because
about
she
UFC.
she
This
was
is-
high
this is
tech.
about
But even then, she passed the.
But this
qualifications.
was UFC, and the actual woman fighter, was more skilled than the male transgender fighter.
Beat that
But
ass.
he just take the shots, and he just dropped her in like 3 hits. So
So it's like one of those things
So-
where like it is a problem because then like that whole meme that happened where he like the first celebrity man becoming a girl becomes woman of the year. It's like that whole meme where like, well, I guess men could be better women than women are. Like
well, once again, that's woman of the year to who? Who cares?
I'm just saying.
Society.
You're telling me that
you voted Caitlyn Jenner woman of the
No,
year.
I did.
Okay,
He did-
so then
he
who
did
cares?
3 times.
If you don't
Accepted
think,
it.
if you don't think Caitlyn Jenner is woman of the year, then who fucking cares?
But it's just that aspect of like you have this whole
Doesn't matter.
men and woman thing separation, and then you
Yeah.
have this huge divide when they're crossing to the other side,
Yeah.
and you're saying that's not a problem.
Yeah, because in sports, it really isn't a problem. There's like an amount that I can count on my hand in the last like 10 years.
I don't know. I
we've really
think
talked
I think
about.
that just.
Let me ask you
what?
this: so you think it would be fair if LeBron James was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go play in the WNBA"?
He doesn't pass. If he passes the what's it called? Like the test
What?
and stuff like that. That they
Apparently,
do.
you don't have to.
No,
I
they,
mean,
they do.
he's a 40-plus-year-old man. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, eventually his testosterone's gonna physically drop below 300, and then
Yeah.
he can take a few extra little pills to do it. I'm saying,
LeBron James. You
I'm
think
saying-
that he's?
I'm saying, you
LeBron
think that
James.
would be okay?
I don't think he would. Listen,
but you
if
think
he
that would be
qua-
Is that the
okay? Is that
question? You think it'll
equal?
be okay?
Hypothetically
If-
speaking,
If hypothetically speaking, LeBron James met the requirements. First off, his body
Wait,
would go
why do we
through-
have requirements? We're equal.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's in women's sports there are requirements in women's sports. That's a
So we're
private
not
business.
equal.
What?
We're not equal. If women get
Biologically.
something different
Yeah.
than men, that makes them not equal.
Not in the context of sports. That's a whole different.
So
thing.
sports are different than business.
Yes.
So you can only be equal.
When was the last time you
So
had to
as
run
a
40
construction
mile-
company, if a woman applies and she has worked before in construction at all, I should hire her, despite the fact that she could carry 3 less bags of shingles to the top of the roof, not be able to carry sheets of drywall, for instance, because she's a woman and I need to have more women on my team. But you're saying they're equal.
First off,
Got him.
if a woman shut up. First off, if a woman has worked in construction for years, that means that she's there for a reason. So she
Assuming.
can.
She's
yeah.
built. It could be.
Yeah,
So-
because they needed a woman.
So you can't say that she can't keep up with the dudes just because that.
I
Have
don't know.
you
I'm
never-
giving an
have you-
example. If
yeah.
she can't keep up, I'm still.
If she can't keep up and she can't do the job, she can't do the job. But that's not a whole woman thing. That's the specific. This person, they can't make the cut, so you should fire them. But I think that if they have the experience that you're looking for, and they have glowing recommendations, give them a shot. If they can't do it, they can't do it.
So, but you're saying sports is different than traditional employment,
Yeah,
but women are equal.
it's different.
I don't
in
think he was
sports.
saying that
What?
she can't do the job in this scenario. I think what he's saying is she can't do the job as well as a man who would be doing it for the same pay.
Right. It's no different than the military, right? Like, should I allow women to be frontline soldiers?
If they can do the job, let them do the job.
Okay, so should I just assume that, let's say, for instance, we go to war, because it's very capable that we go to war with in 2 different countries right now,
Yeah.
that I should draft equal part man and women into my army?
You should draft who or bring in whoever wants to do the job that can do the job.
We're talking about a draft. There's no
There's
no option. I'm saying mandatory, we need 5 million volunteers. I'm just going to draft 2.5 million women and 2.5 million men. Do you think that's fair?
So you're
go
assuming
to
also
war.
that men, any general dude off the street can do that shit.
What's
too.
a hypothetical? You're
Yeah, it's a completely hypothetical situation. I'm just saying, like, if women
You're
want
probably
equal
all that.
rights,
Well, no,
right
that
now
might-
they're not. They don't have to be drafted right now,
Yeah, and that's
but they
something
want to
that-
be equal.
Okay, so then put them in the draft.
I'm fucking.
So
down for
that's
that.
I'm
that's
okay
what I'm trying to
with
put
that.
at. It's like with the feminist rights, they want to be equal, but yet they don't because there's
Well-
so many things that they want to do that we're willing to do, but yet they get mad that we don't.
when you
like-
ask them to do it,
Correct. So, and that's where it
Yeah,
comes to
that's
the biggest
personal.
part. Like, what is really the biggest difference between feminism and equality at that point? Because if everyone needs to be equal, then why is it that they get the little bit of leeway?
So once again,
Well, if everybody's
we
equal, why do
haven't-
we have to make rules that say they're equal?
There you go.
because they haven't been when there weren't any rules in place, we were excluding them a lot. So
So-
we had to make rules to like, hey, you guys, I know you don't let your sister play with you, so now you have to.
Okay.
You know.
I feel
that's
like
But
I just want to
but-
make it clear we don't hate women at all. This is actual.
well, I don't think anyone hates
Well,
women. I
Ed's
think
not
that
here.
we have.
Ed.
Oh my
It
god.
does. That's fair
All right,
enough.
hold on.
once again,
All right,
I'm
entertained.
let's change this up a little bit. Who thinks a woman should be president?
If she can be president, I think
If
she
she
can be
is
president.
very
okay,
qual- I
let's
have
be.
no
I will
problem
be
with
honest.
that.
I voted for a woman.
I have no problem
If she
with that. I
can
have
make,
no problem
if she
with
can,
that.
if she can fit everyone's needs and do the
No
correct
one's
job.
fitting
No
everyone's
president
Well, you know what I
no
mean.
one's
If she
fitting
can do the
everyone's
job
needs,
correctly,
dude.
if she can do the job correctly, and she can prove that, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad about it.
How's she gonna prove it?
I voted for a woman last election, Joe Jorgensen, for Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
No,
So
but
like,
she's
if,
most
if that
qualified.
person,
Congratulations,
if she
you
sees
officially wasted your vote. We appreciate you.
Oh my god! I will
Wow.
agree the
Wow.
fact that if she is qualified, and I look at it paper side by side, I'm like, yeah, this definitely seems better, and it's a girl. Yeah, I would vote for her.
So let me ask you guys this: I feel like men in general are pretty level in the sense of the way that they are going to react, not react, etc. Right? Emotionally, pretty stable for the
I've
most
met some
part.
dumbass dudes, bro.
There
But
there
pop
are,
off.
but you're not voting for them for president. What I mean by that is like if like for instance, let's just use the example we have right now. We have Donald Trump, right, as a man versus a woman, Kamala Harris. I think we all know who Donald Trump is. I think that 8 years ago, if you looked at Donald Trump and the way that he was running, the way that he was acting, and then the 4 years that he was already in office, the way that he acted, the way that he presented himself, the way that he worked with everybody, I don't think there's any difference in how he would be right now if he's elected again. That's who he is. That's his person.
Fair.
Now,
Yeah.
with women, I think we've all dated women here.
Oh,
Raise your
boy.
hand if you have not dated a woman.
Anthony, put your hand down.
Yeah, okay.
Anthony, put your hand up.
So everybody,
okay, you're safe here. It's
so
okay.
everybody's dated a woman, right? Anthony,
I think so.
is it is it
God.
fair to
You
say?
check her
Is it
pants.
fair to say that they could be one way and then emotionally, their hormones change one night in the middle of the night, and everything goes completely the opposite way?
Had the same argument with you.
Yeah, but that's different.
How's it
Well,
all
how is it
different?
different?
Because
Because
y'all don't date dudes, you don't know how a dude will be in a relationship because you are the dude.
I have a feeling if I had this conversation, this is actually funny. I had this conversation with Brian Nutter the other day, right? And I was like, dude, if everything goes south with Nina and something goes south with you and Casey, is like, we should just move in together. I promise you, I will never complain about what you buy. And he's like, I won't ever complain about how late you stay out. I was like, see, we're good.
As long as you
Like,
kiss me
nobody will
goodnight.
ever complain because there's not a woman involved. Now, could you imagine two lesbian chicks? Like, I don't care who they are. You know that they go home, like, especially if one's more masculine than the other. Like, you know that they go home and it's like, what if it's both their times of the week? Like, they're just fucking, just nuclear bombs being laid out every day.
No, but
You didn't put the pen away. You didn't.
I do agree with you that like I feel like that's where the line would be drawn in sense of having a woman in office is
the
that
emotions.
they would react more emotionally than rationally. I think that's where the big difference is as to why people always contemplate on the fact of whether women should be allowed to be in office.
And I don't.
Or not allowed to
I
be
had the
in
same
office,
argument
but to
with
be
Andrew.
president
Actually,
and
I actually had this.
Oh yeah,
argument.
we had
this
we had
argument.
this argument already.
I would love
yeah.
to hear your input on his answer.
Oh, nothing's changed from the first time you and I.
Well, at
talked
least
about
tell
it.
them though,
So
because
once
we actually
again-
had this argument.
Right. So we did have this conversation already before because of the debate. I'm like, oh my god, dude, this dude's an idiot. But oh, not you,
Not me,
Donald.
but I'm still an idiot. I'm still an idiot. I'm still an
But-
idiot.
Baby, let's go.
Yeah, whatever.
You still don't know how to mow your lawn.
You're right.
Yo, so no, I think that it's a lot of projection because once again he's like, oh, you've dated a bunch of crazy women, blah. I'm like, yeah, no shit, I have. I'm a dude. We're in today's dating world. I'm gonna run into some crazy women, but like to project the woman that you surround yourself with, if all the women that you surround yourself with, first off, are all emotional basket cases, you need to change your circle. That's a you problem. For you to project that onto anybody else is crazy because once again that's a small sample size. There
But
are
you don't-
8.6 billion people on the planet. You can't say that the 20 women that you know are going to be a good representation of who's going to run the country.
You don't think all women act emotionally?
No.
I
I
could
have
disagree with
exes.
you on that.
Well, that's fair, right? My circle is probably different from your circle.
That's
you
fair.
surround yourself with some
That's
different
fair.
people outside of our group than I do.
That's fair.
Me, I don't put up with shit like that.
I mean, but see, that's the difference. So putting up with shit is completely different than whether women act emotionally or rationally.
Well, I would say that, like, I think that men can be emotional
We
and
can.
irrational,
Oh, you
right?
can.
Like,
So
I'll
we
give
take
you
a
I'll give you a great example. Like,
Ed.
no,
What a great example for every topic. You know?
But you've never seen a dude at a bar be like, man, I'm gonna fight the first dude. That
Yeah,
wants
right,
it."
exactly.
Like, dude, like,
yeah.
bro,
So,
chill
but
out, bro.
what plays a big part in that is our hormones, right? Like, for instance, like when I was on Adderall all the time, like I acted completely different.
You were here last
allegedly.
week. We talked about
These
it.
are-
I'm a
people.
completely different person if I've been on Adderall for like 90 days than I am if I haven't used it in 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it's been, because my hormones are off. Right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. Just like somebody being on testosterone. I mean, Evan, you working out at the gym all the time. Like, there's a different like.
Damn, that's crazy. Oh man, that's crazy.
But, like-
I went a couple times this week too.
Yeah, but like testosterone and stuff like that, like that makes an impact on the way that guys are too, right? Like, so like I might have it, but my overall, it might be amplified. It won't change.
Yeah.
I don't care what woman it is. Like you're gonna get multiple versions of that woman over the course of a 30-day period, not just because they bleed, right? But
because
like
they're-
obviously it's a part, but because their hormones are fluctuating like all the fucking time, like everything, like the temperature in the house would fluctuate. Their hormones. Like,
But and,
Cold.
and I
Fuck
see,
you, I'm mad because
so
of
when you
now.
talk about at that level of presidency, like, yeah, that's scary, dude. Like having somebody, and I mean, just look at the way that the current female is acting for president. Like she thinks it's a good idea that every time she's speaking to a different demographic of people, she should talk differently.
That's
Like-
how people have been paneling for a
Well,
while.
that
so
is-
that is annoying.
I'll
but
give
I-
him
yeah,
that.
I
That's a
don't-
politician. Period.
That's a
No,
politician.
no, no,
thing.
not
That's
with
a
an
politician
accent.
thing.
Not
No.
with an
that's
accent. Like, come on, like. The way that she talks in North Carolina, South Carolina versus Chicago shouldn't
She
all
got
be
that
different.
twang.
Wait.
Now, what you
Hold on.
promised to multiple people, yeah, I get it.
Do you
Politicians
remember
are
Hillary Clinton
politicians.
going on? It was actually on a radio show when she said, "I love barbecue sauce. I love it, Sweet Baby Ray's on everything."
God.
What you know about
She
that
did
stuff?
really bad.
I don't know shit. I don't know shit. I ain't trying to lie about it.
I don't want to
So-
use up too much time on this because I want us to do our next one on the current presidential race. I'm excited about that.
But to go off of that, like you already said, that dudes, we have somewhat of the same thing. Like our hormones, a lot of the time, with age especially as well, you get low test, high test. Sometimes you're like all over the place. So that shit is gonna affect your mood as well. And women do go through kind of like a more intense version of that once again. But you can't tell me you've never had like a woman boss or something like that.
I have
And
one now.
have you-
She's great.
Right, exactly. And that's one of those things, you check that shit at the door. And that's another thing that I can commend women on a lot is because I don't have to deal with that shit, first off. But they have to deal with that and be like a functioning member of society. You can't bring that shit into work because if you just come into work and you're a dick to everybody, you're going to be talked to. You're going to be pulled aside. That's just a fact about things. So like no one's gonna put up with that. So they have to check that shit at the door, and they have all these things going on inside of their bodies more so than what we do, and they still can put on a decent face. So yeah, I think that a woman still be good in president if she's qualified. But also the president can't just fly off the rails. And what do you think she's gonna do? Just grab a nuclear football and fucking start war?
No, I don't.
Like,
Honestly,
no
I
one's
don't.
gonna
I
do
don't think
that.
that's. I don't think, regardless of who the president is, that's ever going to be an issue. Like, and I don't think any president wants to touch the nuclear football. Like that'll be the end of. That'll be the end of society as we know it across the world.
But that's the checks and balances that there are in government, and it's like anyone that knows how government really works knows that the president, they only have a certain amount of power besides executive actions. So you're worried about a woman in the presidency, like in the president's seat, but you got to worry about the House of Representatives. You have to worry about the Senate. You got to worry about your local elections.
So
You got
even more
much
so,
to
I
worry
think
about.
we have to look at it. And once again, when we talk politics, we could really dive into this stuff. But I think you have to look at it more as like how the world looks at the United States, right? The United States has always been looked at as strong, a world police, an overall influence on the rest of the world, the way they operate.
Anthony looks like
It's-
he
it's
needs to say
also-
something.
No, I was just
It-
sad
it-
the Team
it's all-
America theme song running through.
You have multiple countries that, like we talk about freedom, or we talk about the opportunity for women in America. Like we have other countries where like they have zero rights, like nothing.
That's true.
And to be in a situation where you're running the most powerful country with those other countries that have zero respect for you, I think that is something that just because we say we want it to will never be overcome. Like if you're
Mo
sitting
sharing memes, by the way. That's what the laughing is.
No.
If-
We're talking about fantasy.
if you're
Oh my God,
sitting,
even
for
better.
instance,
Wow.
in a you know, Iraq, Iran, the Middle East overall in conversation, like
Dubai.
and Dubai, and you have a woman speaking on behalf of the United States, I think she'll be immediately shut down, and nothing that she says will ever come to
That's fair.
fruition,
That
which
is
will
fair.
then lead to her taking actions that are unnecessary, and that's just frankly the world that we live in. Like every country's
And
entitled
that's
to
not the
operate
woman's
on their
fault
own.
either. That which is true, but that's just
No, it's really not. So
not.
I think once again, if a woman is qualified to be president, let her be president. If another country wants to fuck around and find out, let them fuck around and find out. That's
But that's
what I'm
dangerous. That's
saying.
dangerous.
Yeah, that's dangerous. But once again, that's what this whole
But we're trying to
country
But
avoid
is
that.
World
built
War
off
II
of.
wasn't any different in that sense.
Yeah. People
Well,
overstepping
well, that's the
boundaries.
difference. They attacked us first. We were trying to stay neutral.
They still fucked around and found
They
out.
fucked around.
But they
So-
nuked
so-
an entire like harbor. You know, it's not like you're in a conference with somebody. He's like,
And we
"Talk one more
returned the
time, woman. I'm
favor."
gonna
So-
blow up it again. I'm gonna
We
do it
turned
again."
around and returned the favor.
So Danny, and Will.
Twice.
So we have the biggest military in the world. People aren't going to forget that just because there's a woman in the president's seat. They're not.
I think, in speaking like of military experience, I think people extremely overvalue the power of our military.
100%.
And I mean that in the sense of, yes, we have awesome equipment, but did you guys not just realize that Israel just blew up like 2,000 freaking Hamas people with pagers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Like-
because we're funding.
Like
it.
you
Yeah.
think of the fact that we bring in almost all of our electronical components from overseas, with China, with Taiwan, with Japan, with all these different. What would it take for them to do that same technology to us on iPhones?
Women.
Whatever. the
Oh
case
my
might
God.
be.
This
But
guy.
that's
Could
not
you
something- that's not
imagine
something
if
you could blame-
3,000 iPhones randomly just blew up in the United States of America?
That'd be insane.
Androids are
Yeah.
better. I'm just
Like,
saying.
I-
That's why I am safe right now.
and here's the other thing
Safe.
too, and this goes to a current open border scenario that we have right now, and the problem that we have with that. And once again, I don't really get into all this right now, but because it'll be like another 3 hours. But like, when it talks to the power of the military right now, like 2,000 people could cross the border, create the smallest bomb ever, and put it into a random building. And because we're such a free country and we allow people to operate really as anybody else does, like that can cause the kind of damage that you would never be able to undo with just similar to like beyond what 9/11 was, right? So then we say, oh, well, we're going to find out who did it and we're going to destroy their country. Well, that doesn't do anything good. You know what that does? That creates even more enemies. Like you look at what we did in Iraq. We were over there for 20 years and they all still hate us. They haven't become a better country for it. In fact, they've become worse because they're less powerful. There's more installed.
Yeah, we didn't do good things over there.
No, we did nothing. And
We
same
did
thing with
nothing good.
Afghanistan.
We
We did
did
absolutely
nothing
nothing good. We literally just gave Afghanistan a whole bunch of, billions of dollars of our equipment and we just turned it back over to the people that we claimed to be rescuing those people from and said, oh, good luck with it. So
And then the
Like-
opioid crisis, which was
Yeah,
a whole-
100%. Like-
yeah, we did not do good things.
So
over
I
there.
don't like while we have a great military and you could say like, oh, if you don't like what I said, no, you're not going to do anything about it. Because if you do anything about it, like enough people hate us now that we could be sitting here in a freaking war that never ends, and it will ultimately end in nuclear war. If anybody hasn't read the book by Annie Jacobson about nuclear war, it is so insane. It is like a
Readings for
real life.
nerds.
It is a real life scenario that scares the absolute dog shit out of me as a human being. Books on demand, audible.com.
Well,
Also,
I mean, you talk about
another sponsor.
You talk about vulnerability. It doesn't even have to go to nuclear war. I mean, there's a book called The Day After where they actually have. I mean, you see with Texas with how bad their electrical grid is when they have that when the heat wave runs through. Where if you just take a dirty bomb, just not even a full nuclear one, doesn't take full fissionable material to cause it. Just an EMP can knock out half the United States. And think of all the people that would die without.
you wouldn't even know.
electricity.
First
Well,
of all,
think
like,
about
it's dead silent. Like that in
Yeah.
that book I was talking about, they talk about North Korea has an EMP that could explode like 5,000 feet
Yep.
over the top of our atmosphere and literally eliminate electricity
heart
for half
paces
the
or the electrons that dead.
yeah
Evan
cars,
with his diabetes.
cars,
We don't have
computers.
refrigeration to take care of his insulin.
Yeah, I would be
Yeah.
dead in about a
He'll be
matter of
dead.
days.
So,
They would shut down our podcast. That's how powerful.
Dude,
it is.
yeah, no, stop it right now. We gotta stop.
Again, Crown Royal sponsor. Get shut down.
Please,
Don't
somebody
let
let
us
me-
get fucking bombed by the E EMP.
But to I guess my response to that is just like, I can't put that on women. I can't. Like I get it, but like that's fear mongering, dude. Like
why?
But you put a woman
This
in an
guy.
office, you have to expect for her to command and demand that
It-
power from those other countries, and I don't think that's going to be
And that's
the
not
case.
her fault either.
I
That's
honestly,
just
that's
that's
not.
just. The
I
other
don't care who the
countries-
woman is. Now, I definitely don't think that the woman we currently having running for president would do it, but I don't care who it is. Like, there's a lot of powerful women out there that I respect and think they have some great things to say. But even they eventually go off the deep end. Like Candace Owens, I thought she was a brilliant person, but she has taken this anti-Semitism shit to the nth degree.
Person?
I know. I think she's incredibly smart. I think she's very well read. I think she
She's-
understands a
She
lot of
speaks
things.
with conviction. I would
Um,
say that about her.
I don't think that necessarily everything that she says is right, but now, especially since her most recent things, where now she's so freaking like this
Well,
whole.
because she pandered to a demographic that never liked her in the first place. She
Yeah.
realized that when it was too late, and she's
But now
trying to
she's
make a
sold herself
pivot,
out, right?
And then nobody wants her ass because she's kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, but originally, like 4 years ago, smart person, like, which has a lot to say. I mean, obviously you're black, I'm not, but I think a lot of the things that she says is very accurate. So anyhow, just going back, like once again, a woman
Pass that one.
who
Because that's a whole other podcast.
yeah, completely changed everything about her and the way that she is in order to do what you're saying is to make people happy or to make a certain demographic people. She just lost it. She's not herself. She's not the same person. And I think that a woman president would do the same thing. And I don't know how many women are out there smart enough to be able to overcome that.
I mean, well, you see what happened with Candace Owens happen with a lot of people in general. Like a lot of influencers go out, they put their foot in their mouth at some point, and then they're just grasping at straws to keep food on the table.
Sure.
That's not necessarily something that is like a woman exclusive thing. That is a person thing.
No,
that
but I
if you
think it
fuck up-
started with her getting her butt hurt when she got fired from the Daily Wire or whatever the case might be, and then she was like, "Fuck it, I'm going all extreme with this now. Like, I'm going all out. Like, fucking that shit. That's crazy." And now she is where she's at. But I mean, originally 4 years ago, I was like, man, this chick's actually fucking pretty smart. Like, she seems to have a level head. She seems that she can look at things differently. Obviously, that wasn't the case. You know, but the woman we have now, like, I mean.
Kamala's not.
I'd love to hear when we get to the next podcast. I think the next one we'll have to do is political. I can't wait to hear.
no.
I cannot wait to
I would
hear.
say this was getting long.
We're
I don't
gonna
wanna hate you
actually
guys,
have some things.
But this was that was very educational. Actually, I learned a lot.
I didn't really learn anything, but it was really fun.
Well, I
What you learned?
well, a
I
lot
have
of
to be
this stuff,
smart to learn things.
a lot of
about
this
that.
stuff is kind of new to me. I don't do politics at all. And you know me. I don't do zero politics.
You should vote local elections. My God,
But
everyone gets so messed up because they only think the
But I'm-
one election that matters is the presidential.
So,
like,
but
locally.
for someone like me, this is pretty educational because a lot of stuff I didn't know, and getting the different opinions is really nice.
Well, I think the idea that obviously we only had Andrew here fighting for women because we're never going to have women on podcasts. This is not an equal opportunity podcast by any stretch. If we do, it's gonna have. If we do, it's gonna have to be like crazy big, freaking like a big deal. Like,
Oh, we have the girls.
my
from
wife
Girls
is
Night
upstairs